Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dialogue Tree. I am Sacrobolic, your Envoy of Hope, and I did the intro backward. First off, Maid, welcome. Can finally actually watch a stream. Indeed you can. I know I have been late with it lately, and it's entirely my fault. How about that? You ever consider that? Maybe it's entirely my fault. Welcome, how are you doing? You might notice that my green screen is just like swallowing my torso. I don't know what that's about, but it's fucking happening. Yes. Worked the past 3 days, so I passed the fuck out before you'd stream. That's fair. I've been doing like really late streams anyway. It's been like fucking it's like on it's 3 hours late, basically, and I've just been like, fuck it, I'm going on anyway, and then I've been going on anyway. Although I did do a pretty long stream last night, so I can't blame you. How's work going, by the way? First thing I want to bring everyone's attention to, new stream upgrade for the second episode of Dialogue Tree. You'll see over here, it's backward for me, by the way. I have to do this mirrored. I cannot get used to it. You'll see over here that I have, in fact, added chat, like I said, so that now, you know, it's a little more watchable now that because we have chat interaction going on. You'll notice that the top of my head is cut off still. You think I could fix that, but I actually can't because my green screen, I'm too tall is the problem. I'm like almost taller than my green screen. Yeah, I'm like 2 inches shorter than my green screen is the problem. So like so the problem is if I pan up, the green screen just stops working and you just get a shot of my ceiling. So it doesn't work. So you're dealing with this. This is what you're dealing with. Maybe I'll get a taller green screen at some point, but right now this is what we're going with. Okay, playing Revelations Persona. Forgot how bad Chris's Persona compatibility was. He didn't want to add a solid 10 more hours of grinding spell cards to make 2 Arcana he can use. Busy Christmas and shit. Christmas is a busy time of the year, and it is an entire month away. You know what? While we're bringing it out, I'll go a little rant on Christmas. I fucking hate Christmas, alright? Here's what I hate. First off, I hate every holiday, right? But the big thing is I hate Christmas because no other holiday decides to shove its dick all the way up your asshole, alright? Christmas is at the end of December, alright? And it's like Christmas sales and Christmas music and Christmas themes keep getting pushed further and further back. I remember when Christmas themes, like Christmas started showing up at like the beginning of December, and I'm like, seems a little early for Christmas, but I guess this is what we're doing. Now, then Christmas started getting shoved into fucking November, alright? Then it started getting mid-November. Then like lately, it's been like early November. I've even seen it go into fucking October. It's like, get ready for this Christmas shit. I'm like, bitch, it's literally like a quarter of the year away. Alright? What are you talking about with this Christmas shit? Oh, fuck Christmas. Fuck Christmas. There's so much shit you have to put out, there's no room, and there's so much stuff in the back that can't open because there's too much stuff too. Playing Parasite Eve, since it's a short, sweet RPG, I'll jump back into Revelations, do an Ellen playthrough. You have a picture for me. Okay. So, yeah, I hate fucking Christmas music. It's the same 8 songs. They're all terrible. None of them are good. Christmas cookies. Can we talk about Christmas cookies for a second? They're awful. All right. It's just like these shitty, like fucking doughy floured cookies that's got more flour in dough than anything, with this thin little bit of icing on the top. The icing's not even that good. It does not redeem the cookie. All right. And it's like, oh, but it's like it's Santa shaped. And it's like, fuck Santa. All right. What's this picture? You're always too early. That is adorable, and I love it. Yes. For the people at home, I will not put this on screen, but it's a little Santa and a little witch, and they're in bed, and the witch is saying, you're always, all capitals and underlined, too early. It is, of course, a joke that Santa is a premature ejaculator, and also that he decides to shove his dick into October because Christmas can't be confined to the last month of the year. It's gotta be the last quarter of a year, because fuck you. Alright, Christmas sucks. I hate the music. The lights blind you when you're driving. It's a fucking terrible holiday that's, like, not even in the right time. Because what is Christmas? Christmas, like, the birth of Jesus? Jesus was born, like, late September. Alright? It's not even at the right fucking date. It's awful. I hate it. Fuck Christmas. You know what I hate more than Christmas? About Christmas the most, though, and this is going to sound incredibly egocentric, but it kind of expands to everyone, so I think maybe everyone can get... I hate gift giving. I am the type of person who will totally just buy someone a gift because I thought of them and I saw the gift and I'm like, you need this gift in your life. Christmas is this sort of manufactured time of year where they're like, you need to purchase gifts for people. And it all comes in, and especially if you have a birthday around that time period too, you fucking, because what are you going to do? Be like, this is your birthday and Christmas present? If you've ever said to someone, this is your birthday and Christmas present, you're a fucking cocksucker. But, like, you only suck the bad cocks, alright? None of the good cocks, alright? Christmas is the wrong date because Christmas changed the date to coincide with a pagan holiday to make it easier to convert them. I have not heard that, but I totally believe that. That sounds completely like something someone would do at some point. Yeah, anyway, no, if someone's birthday is also Christmas, get them 2 presents. Because in this scenario, right, their birthday would have been on a different date. You would have gotten them the other present anyways, alright? If it's this much of an issue, buy the present like 6 months in advance or something when you think a reasonable birthday would be placed, and then just hold on to it. That's what I've started doing. I'm buying presents like months in advance, and then I'll just hold on to them in Christmas, and they'll be like, here, I just bought this 5 minutes ago. Didn't at all plan the entire year's worth of presents out. I totally planned the entire... I have presents for next year, alright? It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, mandated presents are fucking bullshit. You should give presents when you think of someone and you feel like being nice. The fact that people expect presents is some dumb bullshit, and I hate it. Alright? And it's like, it sounds a little selfish because it's like, oh, Sack doesn't want to buy people presents. You're damn right I don't want to buy people presents. But it's also a similar simulation where people have to buy you presents, and it's like, well, maybe they shouldn't have to buy me presents either, right? Maybe everyone doesn't need fucking presents all the goddamn time. Maybe you should get presents when you feel like being a nice person, rather than because that's what society has decided you do at that time period. That is some solid fucking water. Can I tell you, I do have a stream beverage. Excuse me. And it is not this water. But for some reason, y'all, this fucking water is doing it for me. Like, this is some grade A water. And it's not like, I think I'm just thirsty, which means tomorrow's gonna suck. Because this is an alcohol stream, for the record. But anyway, that's Sack's fucking rant on Christmas and why it sucks and why all holidays suck. The only holiday I think that matters, that should matter, is a person's birthday, because that's the real sacred holiday, right? That is a celebration of a person's anniversary in life. And I know people are like, well, I don't care about my birthday. I'm like 47 years old. Shut the fuck up. Celebrate your anniversary like a normal person, all right? Birthdays are the best holidays because they're the only ones that matter, because they're the only ones that are personal to you. Bam. That's some fucking Sack wisdom right there. This green screen is eating this shirt, and I want you to know that, like, my green screen, it's a green screen. It's not a blue screen or any other color. It is green, right? It is green back there. This shirt is not green. So, like, the decision that my green screen is making to just eat me right now, I don't understand what is happening. Anyway, there you go. We've started off very nice talking about my hatred of everyone's favorite holiday. Bada bing, bada boom. What's your favorite holiday? Mine, not counting birthdays, is Easter, because I get together with some people and we do an egg hunt every year, and it's super fun hunting eggs. Bwah, bwah, wow, wow. Anyway, if everyone remembers, last time we almost got banned off of Twitch for violating terms of service like 8 times. So this time, we're gonna try and keep it a little tame. We're not gonna say anything offensive. Now, that said, we should legalize first-degree murder, advocate for cannibalism, and eat shit. Filter my politics, filter my life. Take whatever you like. All right, so... so, that brings us to... some fucking thing. I don't know. Like, the fun part about Dialogue Tree for me is that I'm just going off at this. Like, this isn't even a show anymore. This really is just more a just chatting stream than anything at this point, but that's really just water, but fuck is it good. Oh my god. And the weird thing is I drink water all the fucking time. Like, I drink whole ass gallons of water. But you didn't care if you don't get banned. You know, I kind of don't. So there you go. But, you know, let's not, like, literally take our dicks out and just start waving them in the breeze, all right? That might be a little far. Let's metaphorically take our dicks out and metaphorically wave them in the breeze. What that metaphor is, I don't understand, but, like, we'll get to it. I had a thing to talk about, but I don't remember. So let's just keep the ball rolling a little bit. And actually talk about what's going on content-wise. What is going on content-wise is simple. We're still on Birth by Sleep, but we're looking at probably, I would say, one more Birth by Sleep stream. Now, no one has seen the last two, I think. Which is okay. It's not a big deal. If you have missed them, here's your little recap. We've beat the game. We're done. We finished the game. It's done. Okay? We're past it. We've moved on. We did the final episode, unlocked secret episode, finished secret episode. We're literally already done. So the last stream, you were sleeping? Well, we're done. To be honest, you saw the end of final episode. We already reviewed the game. That's fine. Honestly, nothing really happens in secret episode. Aqua just wanders around and then fights a Heartless. Like, there's no, like, story beat or anything. It's not a big deal. What we did do last stream is, because at the end of, like, 2 streams ago, we ended up beating the game, and I was like, okay, now it's time to fight some super bosses. So we went up against Vanitas, and he just fucked me. He just fucked me right up the bumhole, all right? It wasn't pleasant, there was no lube involved, and it was not consensual. All right, that is what happened. So what we did last stream was, it was a whole stream dedicated to just grinding Aqua into just being a semi-competent area to fight him. And we ended up beating him just on sheer fucking accident. If you can believe that. On sheer fucking accident, we managed to take down Vanitas. And then we did maybe 10-20 minutes of, like, Young Xehanort, which is the final boss of the game, and just demolished us. Now, we haven't been using any suggested strategies, which is mostly just use Thunder Surge. So we're looking at about one more stream. I'm debating whether we are going to keep trying with True Xehanort, because, like, that fight's fucking rough, dog. Like, that fight, first off, there's a very heavy RNG factor, but, like, I mean, if we grind a bunch, sure, probably we can do well, but, like, do we want to, like, keep playing the game just for one fight, just to keep grinding? I don't know, right? So I'm thinking one more stream. If we beat him, good. If not, phooey. But, like, I don't think I want to keep investing time. I think I want to move on to Digimon. So that's what we're going. The next stream is literally just Xehanort and Xehanort prep. That's it. Just the final boss of the game. But we finished the story mode forever ago. Like 3 streams ago, we finished the story mode. So there we go. And then we'll be moving on to, like, Digimon Next World Order or whatever fucking bullshit Mac tier requested. I'm so glad viewer requests are done. Because fucking hell. Anyway, that's going on with that. Let's talk about a little of the personal life stuff. Not going to get into the details because I'm very private and everyone knows that. But here is some things. First off, everyone give a round of applause to Grandma Sack. Everyone give applause to Grandma Sack as I am going to update you on Grandma Sack's video game journey. Yes, she has beaten Persona 5 Strikers. And in the most, like, applause-worthy thing. For once, her in-game time, from what I understand, I didn't look at it, but from how long it took her to actually start the game and then finish it, it was a reasonable amount of time. So she's becoming like a real person now, which is fun. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of what I'd make you play? Maid, I'm going to be honest, you are the least terrifying person when it comes to requests. Alright? Like, I'm sure you could throw something really mean if you wanted to, because I feel like you probably know some obscure bullshit I'd actually hate. But at the very least with you, I get the feeling that you request a game that you would actually want to watch. Whereas, like, other people, I don't understand the logic behind some of these choices. I think Pache goes through these periods where he, like, has a vague interest in a game, and that, like, leans him in that direction. I think that's where Echo Knight came from. And in his defense, Echo Knight was a pretty good game. And, like, like, to be honest, John only got one viewer request, but it was so unbelievably bad that I just couldn't anymore. And, like, Max here has exclusively used viewer requests as torture devices. So, it's not you, it's everyone else, alright? Because I assume if you got even one more request, it's just the other Raito game. Right? So I'm not necessarily afraid of you, as I'm afraid of literally everyone else. Redu Kuzunoha versus King Abaddon and Hunting Ground would be my suggestions. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Which are games I might just play anyway, right? So no big deal on that one. Yeah, it's everyone. It's everyone else. You have me pinned. So, yeah. Anyway, she beat Strikers, so the game she has moved on to next is Soul Hackers 2. She's been playing that game, and from what she has said, she has been enjoying it, but she keeps getting lost. You literally said right as I hit enter. Yep. So that's your Grandma Sack update. Here's my updates. I have a PVC shelf. And my thing about my PVC shelf is I bought it because I had this, like, old, like, ratty, overly cluttered, like, metal shelf that was very small, and I replaced it with, like, this PVC one, which has an interesting story that I probably told, but fuck it, it's my fucking goddamn podcast. What are you gonna do to stop me? Where I was like, I want to replace this metal shelf. Let me get a better shelf. So I go down to Walmart and I'm like, I want to get like a sick-ass metal shelf. And this is a different story, actually. Come to think of it, this was a different shelf. I bought the PVC shelf because I saw someone else had one. Whatever, I'll tell the story anyway. Because the object that broke happened all at the same time. So I'll tell this fucking story anyway. So I was there for an actual shelf. It was my TV stand that broke, and I needed a way to store my video games. This is a different shelf, not the PVC shelf. We'll get back to this PVC shelf. Anyway, I go there to Walmart. I'm like, I want a nice metal shelf to store all my video games at. And I fucking buy it. I take it home. What happens? What's inside? The entire thing's fucking rusted and gammy. Alright, so I take it back to Walmart. I'm like, yo, you sold me a rusty gammy shelf. And then it was there with someone, and they were like, you gotta get, I'm telling you, you gotta get another PVC shelf. Just like that other PVC shelf that you're about to tell a story about. And I'm like, okay, got it, future person. So I buy a PVC shelf, bring it back home. I'm like, gonna assemble the fuck out of this. Start assembling it. It's fucking broken. It's straight up broke. I bought it, and it was broken. Alright, so I'm like, okay, well, fuck this. Alright, so I go back to Walmart, hand back the PVC shelf. I'm like, yo, my shit broke. This shit is broken. I need another one. And they're like, you were here an hour ago. And I'm like, not my fucking fault. So I go over there. I buy another goddamn shelf. Alright. Also, like, I will say on this one, specifically, I open it up. it's goddamn rusted. So I don't even leave the store, all right, because I don't even buy it. I just walk it over to the counter. I'm like, this one is also rusted. You have literally one more. I'm going to go check if this one's functional. All right, so I go over there, pop that bitch open. I open it in the store. Never open things in the store, but in this case, I opened it in the store. It was fine. I bought it. I'm using it today to store all of my console games and my movies and anime. Anything in a disc is being stored on this shelf. Anyway, back to the PVC one. I had this like tiny, this is a different story, and a different shelf. I had this like metal shelf. It was tiny. It was overly cluttered. I wanted to get rid of it and get a big ass PVC shelf. Just sort of expand vertically is the idea, right? Open up more room by just getting taller shelving. Worked totally good. Purchased it. Had it for like a year now. And it started making weird cracking sounds lately. And so I go, and by the way, I'm storing my Yu-Gi-Oh cards on it, is one of the things I'm storing on it. As someone who currently works retail, I'm sure you know this, they don't care. If something is broken, I've been told to just get tape. I mean, look, I brought all the shit back, all right? You can't be, well, because I bought it broken. So like, yeah, so I just brought all the, look, I went a little Karen on it. The way I figure is like when I bring the rusted metal shelf, the way I figured is they're just going to toss it. Which is fair because it's going to save some, like, because I have worked at Walmart and that's what they do with like broken bullshit is they just throw it out in like the most colossal dumpsters you've ever fucking seen. In fact, I'd worked at that Walmart previously. Like years and years ago, in my youngin' days. So yeah, I knew they were just gonna toss it, but it also saves someone from like buying metal shelving that's just like fucking garbage. And who knows, maybe they'll order metal shelves that aren't fucking garbage. I don't know. That was the thought process. Like, I know the employees don't care. I wasn't like apologizing to the employees, but because you know what? I also don't care about the employees. We have the same level of apathy for each other. But anyway, yeah, so about this, so it's been making, I keep my Yu-Gi-Oh cards up there, and like, I don't think my Yu-Gi-Oh cards are that heavy, but I have a lot of them, right? So I've been hearing like cracking, and it's been there for a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know when I bought this shelf. I feel like it's only been a year, right? And so I bought this shelf, and like I noticed that it's starting to like bend the pipes outward, and the like the top where I was keeping the cards is starting to bend downward. So I think my Yu-Gi-Oh cards are just starting to break this fucking PVC shelf, is what's happening. And so I've taken them down because I also keep other things on the shelves like perfumes and shit. And the last thing I want to do is have my fucking Yu-Gi-Oh collection is slammed directly into my perfume collection. And I know what you're thinking, just reverse them. But no, I mean, like, I don't think I can put that much weight on that fucking shelf. It's probably okay it's probably okay until I can get a replacement. But I don't want to risk it, so I'm just storing my cards on the fucking floor right now. because some of those are really fucking expensive, and I do not want to risk them just getting all fucking perfumey. Plus, those perfumes are pretty fucking expensive, and I don't want to risk them getting all cardy. So yeah, separating that shit. I've already bought replacement shelves. They're metal shelving. I bought them off Amazon. They were expensive. I think they were like $80, but it's fucking worth it because they're heavy-duty garage shelves that can apparently support like 275 pounds per individual shelf. Now, I don't know. Do you wear perfume, or do you just like the bottles? Maid, I will talk about perfume in a second if that is what you wish for this podcast to be about. But in the meantime, I don't think I have 275 pounds worth of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so I think we're going to be okay with my replacements. And, you know, with 275 pounds, I might even be able to store some D&D books over there, which is good, because as everyone remembers, my current placement for my D&D books is just like 5 feet from me in a gigantic vertical pile that, honestly, I'm starting to worry that even this wooden shelving can't take that much weight, because it's a lot of goddamn D&D books, and I just keep buying more of them. Although, to be fair, I think Book of Many Things comes out on the 14th, and I bought it at a discount. Almost bought it from Canada, but realized that my card doesn't like Canadian money and would probably have given me a penalty. Like, I probably would have had to pay like a fee for using Canadian money, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna pay the fucking Canadian fee, like, penalty, like the Canadian money fee, then it's going to end up being like the same or possibly more than not buying from Canada. So I just didn't buy from Canada, but almost bought from Canada. So yeah, maybe I could store the books over there because they can't be 275 pounds. So anyway, about perfumes. Yes, I do wear perfumes, Maid. I smell fucking lovely, I have been told. Here's some, so I wanted to get, okay. I have been obsessed with the concept of a signature scent since childhood, because there is a scene in Malcolm in the Middle where Hal, who's played by Bryan Cranston of Malcolm in the Middle and Breaking Bad, Breaking Bad should have came to my head faster, fame. Is in like the bathroom of like a fancy restaurant, and there's like a perfume sampler, and he's like, I've been looking for a signature scent, and like since then I've been like, I should get a signature scent. I will remind you, I'm an osmiac and I can't smell anything, so I mostly do this blind, but I have been given lovely compliments about my scents. Anyway, so I've actually done a good amount of research into perfumes, and the number one thing I have learned is that what you are told all the time is that cologne is for men and perfume is for women, and that's bullshit wrong stuff. That isn't true at all. I don't even know where that came from. Apparently the difference between perfume and cologne is the amount of alcohol in the solution. So perfume has, cologne smells like ass. Perfume essentially has 100% oil, no alcohol, and then there's like aftershave, or I think it's called Eau de Friche, I think. I see different names is the problem. I've seen different names depending on like the alcohol content, which is like mostly alcohol and just a little bit of oil. And so the thing is, the more oil, the longer the scent stays on, but usually the less projection there is, because it doesn't evaporate as fast or go as wide. Whereas the more the more alcohol, like, excuse me, the more it projects, the more people can smell it, usually with like less applications, but also it just doesn't last as long. So aftershave lasts only a few hours. Perfume can last like 24 hours, but you have to be closer to someone to smell the perfume. Anyway, men's scents smell terrible. I know I'd work in the men's section. The whole entire area smells terrible. Even the smell smells bad. Noted. Then I ask why. I mean, it depends what kind of scents you got rocking. What kind of scents you got rocking. I tend to default towards more like masculine scents or unisex scents. I'll give a full lowdown on all of the scents I'm rocking if you wish. If you want to smell like Sacrabolic, your envoy of hope, I will give you a lowdown on my perfumes. Most of them are parfums, actually. I tend to default to either Eau de Toilette or Eau de Parfum, which has more of a in-the-middle alcohol to oil content, so decent projection, decently long-lasting, like lasts a few hours. Not too overpowered in either direction, though. I wear floral perfumes. That seems fitting, sure. So here's what I've got. Here's what I'm rocking. First off, my most basic bitch scent that I'll wear when I don't care and I'm just going outside, I've got Old Spice Swagger, because the ladies love Old Spice. It's got a nice sandalwood palette to it, and it's very fucking cheap compared to all of my other senses. I'm like, Zach, I'm poor, so it's cheap shit. That's fair. Yeah, it's a nice sandalwood. They apparently, yes, you ladies love Old Spice. You know what ladies don't like? Axe. Used to wear Axe all the time. Found out women fucking hate Axe. Don't wear Axe anymore. All about that Old Spice. Got that grandpa scent going on when I leave the house. Which is actually funny, because similar to like women generally like leaning towards like Old Spice type scents, Axe's rank. See? I told you. Women fucking hate Axe. They like Old Spice. They hate Axe. I've learned. But don't wear Axe anymore. Do use an Axe shower detailer because it's like the best fucking body washing tool you can acquire. But I use it exclusively Old Spice soaps on it, or sometimes I use Aveeno. So I'll use generally like an Old Spice Swagger for like most of the week, but if it's like a fresh post shave, I actually use a completely unscented Aveeno oatmeal body wash, because oatmeal helps soothe skin irritation, so it helps me cut down on like razor irritation. When you shave like I do, you need to cut down your fucking razor irritation. Anyway, so I will apply that for 1 to 2 days with a much softer like shower scrunchie than the Old Spice shower tool, which just like really gets in there, but it's also a little abrasive and sort of has a sort of exfoliating effect. Anyway, Old Spice Swagger for when I'm just feeling like I need to go to the bank and I'm wearing sweatpants. All right. I do get complimented on it a lot, by the way. It is a surprisingly, for a fucking can of fucking scent you can get for $6, it's a surprisingly effective can of scent. But anyway, that's what I've got. I have got Molecule 01 by Eccentric Molecules, which uses Super E ISO or something like that. It's a weird sort of like scent that changes this, like it smells different depending on who's wearing it and who's smelling it, and also some people can't smell it. I hear it's really good as a scent enhancer, but you know, so I'll occasionally put that on. It's nice. It's a subtle fragrance, not super compliment grabbing, but I noticed that like people just like me better when I wear it. It's weird. There's like like no one ever says anything about it, but people are nicer when I'm wearing it, so that's fun. I have Mora by Lattafa, which is a super woodsy, like mossy, sort of like a deep forest, a little bit of a spicy scent, and it is just like filled with like aphrodisiac scents. It's fucking sex scented is what that is. All right, it gets you going, and that is the sole purpose for it. It's probably my least popular one, but you know what, I kind of like it because it comes in a really pretty bottle. Does it smell like sweat? No, it smells more like moss and like greenery. Like it's a woodsy green scent, with some spice in it. That's the smell I associate with sex. You can get perfumes that smell like sweat, but I do not have any. Moss and wood, that's not it doesn't smell like the act of sex, all right? It smells, it's mostly like a bunch of like commonly used aphrodisiacs. It's an aphrodisiac scent is what it is, all right? It doesn't smell like ejaculation or anything, which there is a perfume for. I know there is a perfume called, I don't own it, I know there's a perfume called Vulva, which just is supposed to smell like pussy. And then, what was the other one? It was like, I think it was called Excretions, was it? And it's supposed to smell like blood and like cum and sweat and like piss. It's just like human fluid scent. I hear it's terrible, but I don't own that one either. So you could, if you wanted to be like, I want to smell like sweat, but I don't want to work for my sweat smell, you can get perfume that smells like sweat, but I do not own any. And so, yeah, I have Bee by Calvin Klein, which is a sort of like fresh spice scent. That's a solid compliment giver. Right there is Bee by Calvin Klein. And let's see. Another one I got that I get complimented on every time I wear it, but I also try not to wear it too much, is Sauvage by Dior. Probably saying that wrong, but yeah, that's a good one. Also, I feel like blood is something you'd want you to avoid with sex. Almost in every circumstance. Yeah, I mean, unless you're like really kinky, or unless you're really not kinky, if you know what I mean. And it is worth noting, just so everyone knows that here's a heads up. Fucking sack tip. Not every woman bleeds her first time, so be aware of that. That's a little bit of a misconception that the media has sort of portrayed. I don't know what you mean. That's okay. I don't remember what I said. So, anyway, yeah, Sauvage is probably my most popular scent. I try not to wear it too much. It's a blue scent, which means it has Embaraxin. I don't know why they call them blue scents, but I saw that on a Reddit forum once, and I've been saying it ever since. And yeah, it's like apparently like Embaraxin is a sort of chemical that is used in like Axe and stuff, but the stuff you would use for like a high quality perfume is like way higher quality. So it's in fact it was like in a compilation it was like considered like the most like attractive scent to women in like I think like recent years. Obviously probably not all time, I don't know what all time is, but like it's won a lot of popularity polls, and I want to say I heard it won perfume of the year. If that's actually a thing or not, I'm not fully sure, but anyway, a lot of compliments from Sauvage. And the final one is called Peach Sunrise by, I want to say, Body Shop, and I purchased it because I was walking through a Walmart like buying like a Gatorade or something, right? And I just see it on like the discount aisle, and it was like $2, and I'm like, I'll smell like Peach Sunrise by Body Shop for $2. So I purchased Peach Sunrise, and it smells like peaches. It's a very feminine scent, that one. That is my most blatant feminine scent. But fuck you. I love the idea of smelling like peaches. So there you go. That's what I'm rocking. Those are your sack scents. And most of them are like Eau de Toilettes or Eau de Parfums. It's just based on like the like alcohol versus like oil content. Some of what I said was probably wrong, by the way, so take a little bit of that. How is peach a feminine scent? It's like a fresh, fruity sort of scent. That's not typically what it would be associated with the sort of like musky, masculine scents that like most people would assume with a more masculine. Yeah, like fresh, fruity scents are typically considered more feminine as opposed to like more like musky, heavier, like masculine scents. It's also pink, so there is also that. But I don't mind. I don't really care how masculine or feminine I smell. But it is nice to like walk into a room. Musky scents are things you'd want to avoid. Not all musky scents are bad, actually. Not all musky scents are sort of like animalistic scents. There are also such things as floral musks, for example. Like rose is considered to be a sort of floral musk. So musk isn't necessarily like a scent, like sure, sweat is musky, right? Like musk is a sort of scent contained in sweat, but like sweat and musk aren't equivalent. So yes, you would actually want some musk depending on what kind of perfume you'd want to wear. Next, you have a mold scented perfume. I would argue that's what Moray is a mold scented perfume. Anyway, yes. So I got really into perfumes a few months back, and yeah, it's nice to just walk into a room and have people like, you smell good. And I'm like, fucking thank you. Thank you, that's so nice. I like getting complimented on how I smell, even though I can usually never smell myself. You might notice I occasionally make comments about smells. I'm okay with going into the bit of the details. The thing is, like, 98% of the time, I can't fucking smell shit. Like, I am completely goddamn nose blind 98% of the time, and then, like, 2% of the time, I can just smell something. It's random, and it's usually only like certain scents that just pop out of nowhere and become smellable. I don't know what it is. I actually have heard when because because it happened at a certain point when I was like a child. Like, I think I could smell when I was a kid. And I was told that it was like, oh, it's probably like trauma or PTSD or something. And that's what I went with for years, until I realized, you know what it probably actually is it's probably not trauma or anything. I think my nose is fucked up. I think my nose is out of shape because it's basically sideways on my goddamn head. I think I have like a deviated septum, and because I also can't breathe properly out of my nose, and I think these things are linked. So at some point in time, I'm gonna get fucking nose surgery. And I'll probably be able to smell perfectly fine. I'm just gonna tell the doctor, hey, shove my nose on properly, please. It came in sideways. All right. We have a bev here. What are we drinking tonight? We're drinking 2 shots of 100 proof. We're drinking 3 shots vanilla vodka, and the rest is orange juice with the pulp because I need the fiber in my diet. Let's go. Not bad. Little warm. I didn't put ice in it like I normally would. Because I wanted the orange juice to counterbalance the like heavy vodka tasting, and it's good. It's totally doing exactly that, right? But the other problem is I think it would just be better colder. I probably talked too much about perfumes. Anyway, what else did I do? Oh yeah, I bought shelves. I said that. I bought a laptop so I can work on the go. Now I can be the asshole sitting in Starbucks. Fucking sitting on my laptop, typing shit, and making fucking spreadsheets. Hilarious fact, as someone who has basically used desktops exclusively, I got this laptop, and I'm like, how the fuck do you right-click with it? So I actually had to walk up to my boss, and I'm like, you own a laptop? How do you right-click? And he's like, oh, you just press the button. I'm like, what fucking button? What button are you talking about? And so he just shows me pressing in on the trackpad, and I'm like, you can press the trackpad? So now I can work my laptop. Yeah! Alright, here's a fun fact. I don't know if I've told this story. Here's a fun fact about Starbucks, actually. I don't drink Starbucks. That's your fun fact about Starbucks. I don't drink Starbucks. I remember the last time I was in a Starbucks I'll tell you a hilarious fact. I was never taught how to make a spreadsheet. Not once in school did I ever make a spreadsheet. I made graphs. I actually have, I believe I have certification in making spreadsheets, which has never come up. You think it would. You think you'd go to a fucking job and be like, I can make spreadsheets, I have a certificate. But yeah, no, never come up, weirdly enough. And I don't remember anything about that. So I had to like basically reteach myself how to make spreadsheets. And now I love spreadsheets. Can we talk about that? Get on this spreadsheet. I make spreadsheets for fun now. This is true. I actually catalog my anime watching by spreadsheet. All right? This is a thing I've done now, and it's goddamn color-coded, and it's automatic, and it, like, calculates watch times. It's awesome. I love it, all right? It's awesome. I can't wait to make another one. Can't wait to make more spreadsheets. I just love making spreadsheets. Oh, God. Make more spreadsheets. Anyway, so yeah, I have a laptop now. That's fun. I didn't know how to work it. But oh yeah, Starbucks story. So I go into a Starbucks, right? I'm on a date with an ex-girlfriend, and I'm like, "What do you want from Starbucks?" It's my treat. I'll buy it. And she's like, "You know, I don't really want anything from Starbucks. I don't really like Starbucks." And I'm like, "You know what? I just thought it would be a nice gesture to buy you Starbucks. I also am not a fan of Starbucks. Do you want to just leave?" And she's like, "Yes." And so we just walked into a Starbucks and walked out, and I legitimately have never been in a Starbucks since then. I've not stepped one foot into a fucking Starbucks since that day. I've been getting Starbucks more and more lately. Oh, you getting on that Starbucks? You getting any fancy Starbucks? You got your tall grande ventis and stuff? I only know that from a fucking meme video I watched recently. Right across the street from where I work. That is the unfortunate thing about getting a job in a location, is you tend to just frequent whatever thing is nearby you. You'll just be like, fuck it. There's a goddamn Chinese food place like a block down. I will now only eat Chinese food. This has become my food group now. I thought you weren't much of a coffee. Oh, I bet you get tea or something. I bet you're because they do make tea, don't they? I bet you're a tea drinker. I bet you're like, give me a boba or like a dragon fruit tea or fucking green tea with lemon in it. I don't know. Green tea with lemon might actually work. That doesn't sound like a terrible tea now that I think about it. I've never thought about adding lemon to a green tea, but I could totally see that working. Anyway, that's me. That's the SAC update. You're right, SAC. Panda Express is also right across the street. Chai. Nice. Nice. Which is, by the way, just the word for tea. Is chai. It just means tea. But it's also, it's like, despite just apparently just meaning tea, it's like sword meaning sword, like katana meaning sword or some shit like that. It's like, it's still a very specific type of, like tea. At least as far as like a Western perspective goes. There's sort of like black tea with spices added to it. There is a sort of Bolt House thing I will buy whenever I'm feeling fancy and feel like dropping $6. Which is sort of like a vanilla chai. It's like a mixture of like vanilla and green tea and like the chai spices. Sometimes get coffee. Oh, you're getting on this coffee train? Probably not too far onto this coffee train though, but dipping your toe a little bit. You get the coffee with added bullshit. Oh, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna spend $8 on a coffee, you better get the added bullshit. Speaking of, I have coffee to my right, because you gotta bev up when you're streaming. And you know, I mentioned like I'm really feeling that Italian cream. I think I've switched back to French vanilla. Now I'm on this French vanilla train. When I got the Italian cream, I'm like, it's got such a rich, creamy taste to it that I think I prefer it to the French vanilla. But like, if you drink too much of it, it starts to lose its luster. Whereas like French vanilla, it just goes with everything. So I think French vanilla is my new home creamer. But anyway, that's that. That was the update. This is why this is great. It's just bullshit. I love Dialogue Train. It's just bullshit. I mostly get this thing with caramel in it. It's just like hot melted ice cream. That sounds fucking good, actually. It sounds totally drinkable. I'm not gonna lie, I would drink that. Caramel's fucking underrated. That is why I always keep on hand, this is true, Werther's Original hard caramels, because I am actually 60 years old. There you go. That is actual alcohol. Anyway. Also, it's worth noting that, like, I've basically, I'm not even drinking anymore. Not that I have a drinking problem to begin with, despite the stream memes. But yeah, because every time I go to be like, maybe I should pick up a drink, maybe I should drink a little something, I'm like, you'll drink when the podcast rolls around. So, it's become a once every 2 months kind of thing, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You know what? And I think once every 2 months is reasonable. So, there you go. That's fun. I don't know if I've ever said this on stream, but I actually have a personal rule. And I highly recommend everyone do this, if you can, if you're not in too deep. I have a personal rule about drinking alcohol, which is I do not allow myself to drink alcohol if I am feeling overly negative. Like if I'm overly sad or I'm overly angry, I have decided I'm not allowed alcohol on those nights. Not that it's ever been a problem, but I feel like it helps prevent it become a problem, because then it never becomes a dependency. It's just like a fun thing you can do on the side occasionally. So that's SAC's tip for SAC. Don't know if it works for everyone. Maybe give it a shot. So I can never drink alcohol. If you are always feeling angry or sad, then if you're following the SAC rule, Yes, you can never drink alcohol. Don't ever drink alcohol. It is worth noting that one of the things I had drilled into me when I was studying psychology was that alcohol is a depressant. So even if there's like a minor mood boosting effect, like briefly, if you drink any appreciable amount of alcohol, it will actually start bringing your mood down. So you cannot, like, you cannot bring your mood up with alcohol. You actually cannot do it. Like, I consider myself a happy drunk just because I'm like in a good mood, but it's just because I'm having fun. It gets me a little loosey-goosey. But like, you can't solve a problem with alcohol. Like, you legitimate, unless the problem is you need to disinfect your wound really quick and there's no better solution. You can't solve your problems with alcohol. Zach's secretly psychoanalyzing us. So yeah, that is worth noting. Now, what I have heard recently, and I do not know if this is true, is that apparently black tar heroin activates like all of your dopamine receptors all at once. It just floods your brain with the most ecstatic happiness you can ever have. So it is totally possible that like alcohol is a super downer and you can't solve your problems with it, but black tar heroin may actually be a solution to some problems. Now, I'm not saying to do black tar heroin. I'm not saying that. So, let's get on into whatever the fuck this stream is. Media stream, I think it is. And first topic. We have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I'm going to give everyone a shout out tonight. You will not be expecting Baldur's Gate. I have done 3 playthroughs of Baldur's Gate. I want to do 4. And I considered doing just like, having only beat the game, I considered doing a review of like Baldur's Gate on only 3 playthroughs. But I want to do all 4 so I can be as fair and as generous as possible. Excuse me. So expect that next stream. Also, one of the things I'm thinking about doing next stream, not next stream, I'm going to do, next dialogue tree is going to be totally normal. And then, but I do want to do the podcast awards, which we did like once on Cold Topic. I want to start doing that at the beginning of a year is the thing. I think it's going to become a January thing. So we might do like week 1, Sunday, fucking regularly scheduled episode 3. And then the week after that, on the next Sunday, dialogue tree awards. Find out who's going to win some awards. It's going to be a fun time. Look forward to all of that. Anyway, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This was the big game that everyone was talking about before Baldur's Gate came out, which was the big game that everyone was talking about before Starfield came out, which is... But I'm like 3 months behind everyone because I buy games. It's a novel concept in modern-day video gaming. Not calling you out specifically, mate, calling everyone else out. But I buy games, and then I play them to completion and finish the games before I go on to the next game. And I don't, like, rush through them. I enjoy the game I'm playing. You know. Crazy. So anyway, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What did I think of it? I gave a little tip. I said that I don't think the story of this game will be as good as Breath of the Wild. And I still don't think the story was as good as Breath of the Wild. I think that is so vastly overappreciated. The thing about Breath of the Wild is it doesn't do a good job of telling you your story. But if you go through the areas and you get the pictures and you actually fill out the past events, it creates this, like, amazing story of like loss and defeat, which isn't something you normally see get focused in a lot of games. Like, so few games actually focus on the concept of defeat. And Breath of the Wild is a bit unique in that aspect, and it really pushes it because every aspect of the gameplay is dedicated to this concept of failure, to this concept of defeat. Failure is what I think I would define Breath of the Wild as. It's like this whole push towards the concept of failure. By the way, I bought the DLC for Breath of the Wild. I will have to play it at some point. But I'm taking a little Zelda break because I did Zelda on top of Zelda, and I'm a little Zelda'd out at this point. But anyway, I don't think there is a through line for Tears of the Kingdom. And I think the story aspect is a little I do think the story aspect is weaker in that regard. The narrative is told to you a lot more in your face. They literally direct you plot-wise to go pick up the Tears of the Kingdom, to sort of get the memories and, like, find out what happened to Zelda, what's going on in the story, what's Ganon's deal. It's a lot more direct and in your face, which is why I think people say it has a better story, but it also has more of a story because Breath of the Wild was very minimalist in its plots. But I would hardly say it's better. And unlike Breath of the Wild, not every aspect of the game actively works towards the theme of Tears of the Kingdom, whatever the fuck the theme of Tears of the Kingdom actually is. So yeah, no, narratively I cannot give it a pass. I will say that I did enjoy the way it handled its narrative relatively well. This game, because the world is kind of weird as it sounds, less fucked up than in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, you can actually talk to more NPCs, there's more established villages, everyone's just generally better off, and you kind of, through, especially, like, when you're, like, helping the town in the south, you help sort of rebuild the damage of the world during the calamity. But, like, the fact that, like, rocks have started falling the fuck out of the sky and there's giant chasms opening up does put a bit of a damper on the rebuilding. I would almost like to see like a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom, where the world is just actually coming back together. Maybe there's large expanses, but like there's no world-ending disaster or anything. Maybe it's impending, and the world isn't super fucked up, maybe. And like maybe the towns are just flourishing. I think that'd be like kind of fun to see. Not that there isn't a degree of like town flourish going on, because you do help the one town in like the south, and you go to like Kakariko. I want to say it is Kakariko the Sheikah village? There's two villages. Anyway, you go to the one and it's obsessed with fashion and mushrooms, and they're doing pretty okay. They don't really have too many complaints. And then you go to the Sheikah village and it's like, yeah, we're super into ruins right now. Like, everyone's doing pretty good unless you're not a Hylian. Unless you're not a human, you're doing pretty okay in your village. And I think that is kind of fun to see that, like, we are starting to see a bit of some rebuilding being done post Breath of the Wild, and I think that's nice. And I like engaging with characters. If I were to compare them to like old school Pokemon characters and like how their background characters are sort of established and how they manage to like create like stories with only like a few minor characters. It's not on Pokemon's level, but there's very few games that are. So you end up with like a lot of like background characters that just say some bullshit that's like, have you tried picking up chickens and jumping off roofs? A little boring in that regard, but a lot of like main characters have likable personalities that you can get behind. You gotta love the whole main cast. Purah is Purah. Look, allow me to join the chorus. Purah can fucking get it. All right, I don't care that she's like 150. Oh my god, Purah can fucking get it. All right, Purah can get it. Anyway, where I think Tears of the Kingdom. So there's like two maps. There's the sky map, which is very hard to navigate to like an obnoxious degree. Like, I wouldn't even be able to navigate it if it wasn't for like looking up videos online about how to build flying machines. And then there's the depths, which are supposed to be super dangerous, but they're not. They're just dark. They're dark and annoying, and I had to look up guides on how to navigate stuff. I had to look up a bunch of guides on this, and it was mostly like navigation and where items are. There's like a bit of like an annoying amount of that going on, I will say. But I will say, disregarding that where this game really excels is sort of the gameplay. You can tackle different problems from multitudes of different solutions, and like a big thing with most games is they make you tackle problems in specific ways, and if you try and get outside of the box, it yells at you. Whereas Tears of the Kingdom is okay with you not following exactly how they intended you to solve it. Like, if the intended solution is you launch yourself over a chasm and instead you make a giant bridge, most games would be like, you can't make a giant bridge, you need to launch yourself over the chasm, whereas Tears of the Kingdom's like, fuck it, I guess you made a bridge, whatever, who cares, moving on. And like, that sort of like laissez-faire attitude to game development, I actually really appreciate, and I think more games could learn something from Tears of the Kingdom when it comes to sort of opening up the ability to approach situations from multiple angles instead of specifically the ones the developers had in mind. I found this one kind of easier than Breath of the Wild. Not that I have a necessary problem with that, as you know. And although I will say it is a little bit buggy. Oh, and I will acknowledge that I abused the shit out of a duplication glitch, and I'm not fucking sorry about that. Because I think it's necessary. Because Lionels are motherfuckers. So that happened, and I'm not ashamed. But they kept patching it, like I accidentally patched my game while playing it, and I got fucking livid. So I was like, oh shit, I only have 20 silver Lionel horns left. Better make them last to the end of the game, and I think I did. But weapon durability in this game feels very low. I feel like my swords are always constantly breaking, and I think that's a pretty sizable complaint I have about this. My number one complaint about Tears of the Kingdom is actually is actually sort of related to my number one compliment, which is that the game lets you tackle things from any angle. But this is going to be controversial, I think, but I feel like I would love if the game gated story events behind certain levels of progression. I know a lot of people are really big fans of the fact that you can basically do the story in any way you want, but as someone who wants to experience the story, not necessarily the gameplay, in the way the developers intended, I did the entire game backward. And it really fucked up my perception of the story, especially because, like, Link just doesn't talk. Like, it's established that Link can talk. He's not mute. He doesn't have a disability. This motherfucker has a functioning goddamn mouth and vocal cords, but he just doesn't. So in my playthrough, I ended up a scenario where Link already has all of the answers he needs. He's already, like, found, like, the fucking, spirit sage or shit, and, like, he's just sitting with all of the answers. Like, he knows what happened to Zelda, and people are like, we need to find out what happened to Zelda. Oh no, Zelda ordered us to shove pine cones up our assholes, and he just stands there doing nothing. And it's like, Link, use your goddamn vocal cords. You could just tell them that Zelda didn't tell them to shove fucking pine cones up their assholes. Why are you so afraid of talking? So it actually kind of gets frustrating that you can experience the story out of order, just because it almost becomes like immersion breaking to a point. Like, apparently, Link is the kind of motherfucker who, what this game has convinced me is, Link is the kind of motherfucker who, if you're in a scenario where someone has a gun to your head, and they tell Link, if you don't say the word blueberry right the fuck now, I'm going to shoot this person. Link will not say blueberry to save your life. He fucking won't. You will get shot in the head. And it's not that he can't say blueberry or doesn't know how to, or that he doesn't have functioning vocal cords. We know he does. It's because he just refuses for some fucking reason. And yeah, the sequence breaking and experiencing the story backward really put a damper on my experiences of Tears of the Kingdom. And I probably found that to be the most frustratingly awkward part of the game, because I wasn't even attempting to sequence break. I was just attempting to go off and explore and adventure, and I felt like I was kind of getting penalized for that. There's a lot of, like, obnoxious, like, minor enemy types, but overall, the game was a pretty smooth experience, and honestly, just overall enjoyable. Like, the gameplay is really what brings me to Tears of the Kingdom, and I did, like, every side quest I could possibly find. And actually, I did every side quest possible, because I looked them all up, and I got all of the hearts and all of the stamina wheels, and I did all the quests and all of the sky towers, and I got all of the armor. So actually, I did do everything. Fuck you. I did literally everything in this game. And so, because I've probably done more of this game than you, my opinion is more valid. Is something I don't fully believe, but there you go. That is alcohol. I will remind everyone. Anyway, that was Tears of the Kingdom. That was the Tears of the Kingdom review. Anyway, no Baldur's Gate, like I said. That brings us over to TV shows. I watched the One Piece live action series. Now, what did I think of it? As a big One Piece fan, who I think on my Mal list has One Piece listed as their, like, 4th favorite anime, what did I think of the One Piece live action show? I liked it. I actually did like it. I think it did a good job. The number one bit of credit I want to give to, as far as the One Piece live action show, is the guy playing Luffy. I don't remember his name. the guy playing Luffy perfectly captured Luffy's fucking gremlin energy. Like, he does make decisions Luffy wouldn't, not really his fault. The characters are a bit off from the original version. But he so perfectly captures the fucking inane gremlin energy. Also, I think he's too smart to be Luffy. For the record, but he perfectly captures Luffy's fucking gremlin energy, because, God, I'm trying to remember if this is canon. I think it was, where there's a scene in, like, Fishman Island where Jinbei's like, Luffy, we need to make you seem like a big hero to the fishmen, and Luffy's like, I don't want to be a hero, because a hero is someone who, if there was a big feast, they'd have to share their meat with everyone. And I don't want to be someone who shares their meat with everyone. I want to eat all of the meat myself. And, like, that perfectly kind of encapsulates Luffy. Like, Luffy will save you because it's the right thing to do, but also at the end of the day, he's doing it for him, and he fucking knows it. Right? Like, Luffy has this sort of, like, he's a very selfish, heroic figure, and I kind of love that. And he's also, like, very matter-of-fact. Like, Luffy's big thing is you've got to follow your dreams, and he will support anyone in following their dreams, provided that their dreams are not directly conflicting with his dreams at that exact moment. And the show does such a good job of, like, communicating his relationship with Koby, and, like, really I want to, like, sell the fact that this actor does a fantastic job of portraying Luffy. Everyone does a good job of portraying their characters, but he does a fantastic job of portraying Luffy. He's probably my favorite part of the show, although I do love the Hawkeye scene, because the guy who played Hawkeye fucking killed it too. There's a lot of, like, changes and retcon, like, changes in this show that were not in the original. Big Wang is, like, Don Krieg gets killed, like, he has like 6 seconds of screen time and gets killed by Mihawk. Apparently people aren't a big Don Krieg fan. Didn't realize there was a Don Krieg hate mob or anything, but I'm okay with that because Don Krieg isn't necessarily my favorite. He's really no one's favorite, I don't think, but I don't hate the guy. I think he was serviceable for what was required for Sanji's arc, and I feel like a lot of the character development, like, because keep in mind, basically they did 80 episodes in like 8 episodes, right? It is insane how fast they moved through the series. So while I feel like a lot of characters sort of didn't get properly developed, Sanji being a big one, without, I want to say, like, Pearl is the guy's name. I saw it get referenced recently. I don't remember if Pearl is the guy's name, but, like, he helps give, like, food to this, like, starving guy who's, like, the henchman of Don Krieg back in the Baratie. And I think that really adds to his character, and I feel like a lot is actually lost by not exploring the Don Krieg arc. And I also think it's sort of, like, interesting in the Don Krieg arc, because in this, Garp sends Mihawk to fight, like, specifically after Luffy, and Mihawk's like, fuck it, why not? I don't give a shit. Whereas I think it's almost more terrifying that Mihawk just shows the fuck up out of nowhere in the Baratie arc. Like, there's a lot of changes that I don't necessarily agree with. One major one, oh yeah, and Arlong shows up at the end of the Baratie arc to, like, retrieve Nami and take back the Grand Line map, which is fucking crazy, because that super didn't happen in the original. And that's one of the changes I'm not super fond of, but it does seem like in this, Arlong knows Fishman karate. And straight up, when I saw him using sort of Fishman karate techniques in the show, I was like, this brings up a solid question why the fuck he doesn't know Fishman karate. I feel like he should. Also, very early introduction to Garp, because I don't think Garp was fully introduced until, like, Water 9. So Garp showing up, like, fucking 200 episodes early, which I am totally okay with, because I think having Garp be an early antagonist for Luffy sort of helps solidify their relationship a bit better. So I think that's a solid change. And yeah, Buggy the Clown, what I want to say, is almost nothing like post-Buggy arc Buggy. But what I will say is, I kind of don't care, because as popular as Buggy the Clown is as a character, the actor who plays him in this knocked it out of the fucking park. Honestly, I fucking love they keep Buggy around way longer than they probably needed to. But I'm okay with it just because the guy was fucking killing it. What I do also appreciate is there's a lot of little references in the show that really only like people who know One Piece would get. Like at one point there's like a wanted poster for Bellamy, and at one point Binks Sake is playing in the background, and like these are things where if you know, you know, and that's like the perfect kind of reference, is a if you know kind of thing, because it doesn't take anyone who's watching for the first time out of it, but if you know the story, you're like, hey, that's fucking Binks Sake playing in the background, or oh shit, it's a Bellamy wanted poster. It's kind of cool. I also noticed that they did the entire Syrup Village arc inside of the mansion instead of going down to the beach, and I assume it's just so they could save money, because I imagine filming in a mansion is cheaper than filming in a beach. And it might sound like it wouldn't be, except for they would have to rent out a fucking beach, and I imagine that is costly, because you can't film on a beach. You can't film on a beach and have extras walking around in modern day clothes, right? So they'd need to literally be like, get the fuck out of here. And they'd also need to find that very specific walkway, like ramp down into a beach. It sounds like a pain in the ass, honestly. So I can see why they changed it. I wasn't the biggest fan of what they did with Syrup Village. If I'm totally being honest. Although we did get an Usopp Kaya kiss, which I do not think happened in the original. And I think, if anything, that might have been the best change so far, because we need more Usopp Kaya romance. Because, like, it's implied, but, like, we need it stated, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, this was fucking fantastic. They're making another season. I'm on board for it. They've shown a reindeer. Apparently... fucking, oh god, famous actress, what's her name? Oh god, famous actress, she was in the Freaky Friday remake, fucking, what's her name? Fucking Freaky Friday, god, she's super fucking famous, Jamie Lee Curtis. I know that a big fan casting is get Jamie Lee Curtis as Kureha, and I think there's a promotional image of Chopper in the background. So, like, I'm gonna say this, Netflix, fucking do it. Get Jamie Lee Curtis as Kureha. How fucking dare you? Better do it. I better be watching season 2, but I will be watching season 2. But when I do, we better get to Kureha. We also, I believe, didn't get to Logtown, which is a bit of a disappointment. Yeah, we didn't get to Logtown, which is a bit of a disappointment, but I'm assuming we'll see that in Season 2. So Season 2 is really... if they make it 8 episodes, though, are they going to do all of Alabasta in 8 episodes? That would be bonkers. That would be insane. Actually, it would be episodes like 80 through 130, which is, I guess, less than they adapted when they did East Blue. So, you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be that crazy. Never mind. I'm sure they can fucking do it. I'm sure they'll figure it out. But, yeah, anyway. Apparently, they need to make it 13 seasons. Honestly, I'm on board. I've enjoyed it so far. I also like how they did, like, a lot of setup for, like, later arcs and later story points in One Piece. Like, it opens with the execution of Gold Roger, which I don't think is how One Piece opened. And honestly, it was pretty cool. It's nice to see, like, Gold Roger and, like, a Garp in the interaction. I think you see, like, Mihawk at one point in the crowd. It's pretty cool. There is some race swapping in this from the original. We're not talking about, like, how Luffy is supposed to be Brazilian and now he's Mexican. It's fine, I guess. They made, like, Nami's sister and, like, Lucky Roo black, but Nami's sister was adopted, so, you know, that's fine. Although, to be fair, Nami's sister might have been black to be the first place, because she does have a darker skin tone. So maybe she wasn't race swapped at all. But Lucky Roo was definitely not black in the original, and to be honest, I don't think Lucky Roo was anyone's favorite character. I don't think anyone's heartbroken, and honestly, I'm gonna put this out there. You know, I'm not a big race swapping fan normally, but I will say this. The guy who did Lucky Roo did a pretty damn good job, and honestly, who gives a shit about Lucky Roo? So yeah, he fucking killed it, and I'm totally fine with that, but I felt like it was worth addressing just because I did notice it happen. And I do appreciate that they basically got the, like, general, like, characters, because Oda was asked, like, what the like races and ethnicities of the Straw Hats were, and yeah, they're basically one-to-one, other than, like, the Brazilian Mexican thing. Like, Zoro was supposed to be Japanese, Usopp was supposed to be black, Sanji was supposed to be French, and Nami was supposed to be something. I don't fucking remember. I remember Robin is supposed to be Russian, and I hate to say it, but if you've watched the One Piece anime, because I didn't have much to go on, Robin was like fucking dark skinned for the entire first half of the anime. And if they just want to race, like, I normally will never say this, if you want to race swap Robin, I'd be okay with it. You know, maybe do it, please. Can we just keep dark-skinned cowboy hat Robin? Can we get that? Can we get dark-skinned cowboy hat Robin the entire time, please? Should have never lost that tan. It also helped differentiate her from Nami, which is why I really like the dark skin on Robin. Anyway, moving on. One Piece live action, pretty fucking solid. Give it a fucking watch if you have Netflix. Watch the shit out of this. I fucking 2 thumbs up. Surprisingly good. Truly, truly surprised. Moving on to a movie that I've already seen, but I decided to rewatch. I rewatched Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This was on Netflix, and it was actually going to be taken off of Netflix and said, like, relatively soon. So I'm like, I've always wanted to rewatch Ferris Bueller's Day Off because I used to watch it as a kid and I loved this movie. And I'm like, I should rewatch this as an adult, see if it really holds up. And it does not hold up. I did not enjoy it nearly as much watching it as a grown-ass adult. And my number one reason is because Ferris Bueller is kind of a fucking asshole. Like, he's like selfish, he drags people along, he's just kind of like generally unpleasant, and there's an implication towards the end of the movie that a lot of his selfish actions are to sort of help his friends and the people around him. It is a sort of like forced therapy method, and he's worried that he won't be talking with them later on, which is a totally legitimate complaint when you're coming out of school, is like losing touch with your friends. So it does make sense, but he does it in such like an aggressively selfish kind of way, which is sort of implied that like that's what he had to do, but it doesn't reflect positively on him. And when they reveal that he was doing this intentionally at the end of the movie, I feel like it doesn't fully come back around to end up redeeming him as a character for his sort of like misbehaviors and like reckless behavior throughout the course of the entire movie. So yeah, I feel like Ferris Bueller is actually kind of the weakest part of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I did appreciate a lot of the side cast, and was it Charlie Sheen was in this movie as sort of like a guy in prison that's actually kind of like super charismatic. I think it was. I haven't seen Charlie Sheen in like fucking anything since 2.5 Men. We need more Charlie Sheen. What's Charlie Sheen been up to lately? But yeah, no, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I have to say, I didn't feel like it super held up. It is a serviceable movie. I guess I didn't like feel myself getting bored or anything, but yeah, Ferris really took me out of it. So yeah, there you go. Like his like aggressiveness with his friend is a little, I don't know. Like I end up feeling, because also keep in mind that Ferris is faking sick and his friend's like real sick. So I end up feeling really bad for like everyone who has to deal with him throughout the course of the movie. And I think that's my number one issue with it. Okay, moving on. This is the last topic, more or less. So we have moved on to Infinite by Eminem. Now, you all know I have listened to the major Tupac albums, listened to the Biggie albums. We're going classic hip-hop. We're going with, like, big names. So we moved on to Eminem. Because I'm trying to listen to, like, all of the, like, big hip-hop artists. I don't want, so we're going to go with all of Eminem, and then probably move on to, you know, in the future, I'll go with, like, Nas or Jay-Z or Lil Wayne or something like that. Probably fucking missing someone. Oh, yeah, I know I wanted to listen to Kendrick at one point, but I wanted to listen to, like, Tupac well before Kendrick just because of Pimp a Butterfly. Anyway, Eminem Infinite is Eminem's initial album, which I think there was only 2,000 copies of, and you might be like, holy shit, Zach, You fucking landed yourself a goddamn copy, fucking one of the 2000 cassette capes of Eminem's Infinite. Yes. Yes, I did. Of course, that's how I listened to this album. I had no other methods. Excuse me. Anyway, so what did I think of Infinite? All right, so here's the deal. What you got to know is, like, the titular song, like the eponymous song on the album is Infinite. It is fantastic. Probably one of my favorite Eminem songs. Great rhyme scheme, great beat, great rhythm. Eminem fucking kills it on Infinite. The rest of the songs in the album are very generic 90s hip-hop, however. They're very forgettable. You get to see occasional moments of Eminem with his, like, signature flow and lyricism, but I have to say, as you would expect from the, like, first Eminem album, Infinite is sort of was definitely a weaker project probably in his discography. And it's also worth noting that Eminem apparently sold this out of his fucking car or something. Like, this is pre Dr. Dre, so this is before I would say that Eminem established his, like, real style that you would come to associate with Eminem. More specifically, that 90s, like, style before he got really into being a chopper for some fucking reason. I don't know, his later stuff is not as fun, but I guess we'll get to that when we get to that. So yeah, Infinite by Eminem, it's a fucking serviceable album. Oh, I've been forgetting to give ratings to everything. Hold up. Fucking rewind. Hit the fucking rewind button. Tears of the Kingdom, 8 out of 10. Boom. One Piece live action, we'll give it a fucking 7 out of 10. Boom. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, we'll give it a fucking 5 out of 10. We'll give it a 5 out of 10. I don't want to give it a 4. I think there's enjoyable enough moments. Also, I'm drunk, so I think I'm a little more generous than I should be. So yeah, Eminem Infinite is mostly a generic 90s hip-hop album with one really great song, but the thing is, like, just listen to the one really great song, you skip the whole other album. I get why Eminem doesn't really talk about Infinite too much. I'm more looking forward to, like, when Eminem was sort of at his peak is the thing. So, This is just alcohol. I do have to say, I started drinking this a little late into the stream. I don't know if we're going to drink all of this by the end of the stream anymore. Like, I think I need to start chugging this if we're going to get through it. Alright. Now, it is time for the piece de la resistance. The final topic of the night, outside of, like, the outro. But I feel like the gravitas of this segment is too important to discuss with words, to sully with dirty, filthy vocabulary and prose. So instead, I shall introduce this segment exclusively through interpretive dance and charades, because I'm not a very skilled interpretive dancer. So, here we go. Detonator Orgon! I'm sure if anyone watches this fucking thing, they mostly do it with their audio, so then my choice to make a purely visual element of the podcast was so fucking stupid. Oh, well, that happened. That fucking happened. Welcome to Detonator, Oregon. From the director of Bubblegum Crisis. Just an air of mystery and pacing that's more indicative of live action than anime, says Play Magazine. What the fuck are they talking about? Play Magazine is out of their goddamn mind. Alright, so... Of course, everyone watched Detonator, Oregon, so there's no reason to talk about what happened. I took a shower. I missed anything good? You missed, like, the entire podcast, mate. You missed Tears of the Kingdom, One Piece live action, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Eminem Infinite, and now you've made it to Anime Dartboard. So, obviously, everyone watched Detonator, Oregon, so let's tell our... let's talk about our feelings about the anime we definitely all watched. So I think the first episode of this 3-episode series, I think the first episode gets us, I think it's kind of boring, honestly. It sort of establishes a sort of like neo-cyberpunk. I don't even want to call it cyberpunk. I give for my take of time. I don't even want to call it cyberpunk. It sort of has this like dystopian, like multi-company hellscape where like a big focus is about like getting hired by corporations. But it ends up like the show doesn't delve into it, but it seems very nice for a dystopian cyberpunk hellscape. Like, is there a such thing as a cyberpunk story where it's not awful? Is there a cyberpunk utopia instead of a cyberpunk dystopia? Because that almost feels like what Detonator Oregon... No, I guess everything is not really implied to be peachy keen, isn't everyone else who definitely for sure watched this like you were supposed to have. Because there is talk about like sort of like working for the corporations, and there is like the overture of like the government, and they do talk about like past wars. I guess you could almost argue that this is sort of like pure cyberpunk, or not pure cyberpunk, pure sci-fi, with some cyberpunk splashed in there. But I think there is a solid argument that this is probably just like a sci-fi sort of anime, with just a little spice of dystopian hellscape. From the cyberpunk element. Yeah, I think the first episode's a little slow. I do sort of like the introduction of the main girl in this. I like that she's just sitting on a fucking bus and is like, look at that girl. She's wearing all them past clothes, just like I like. You get it? I like that she's just like some fucking nobody to him at that point in time. I think that's a clever way to do it. I get a lot of like iRobot vibes, although this OVA is like older than iRobot, but I know iRobot is based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but I haven't actually read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but I hear that like iRobot is based off like one short story from that, and only sort of loosely, so I don't know how much is one-to-one. So what I'm saying is iRobot may have ripped off Detonator Oregon. or Oregon is what I'm saying. But yeah, so first episode is kind of boring, but they do an efficient job of sort of setting it. It's not based on it's not iRobot is based on iRobot. Is it? Oh no, Blade Runner is based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I'm drunk. Please remember that is a mistake Sober Sack would have made. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. You are fucking correct. You are completely fucking correct. Yeah, I was thinking of Blade Runner. So did iRobot... I think it was still loosely based off of the book, though, wasn't it? Yeah, it's a 1933 short story. So I think it's still loosely based off of... yeah, it's a short story from 1933 called iRobot. Published by Endo Binder. Interesting. I thought it was one of the short stories in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So I think I just misremembered that. But I imagine the movie still took plenty of liberties. So yeah, iRobot, the movie, definitely ripped off Detonator Oregon. For sure. For sure that happened. Anyway. Solid correction. But what was I going to talk about? I'm drunk. Yeah, I think the first episode was a little weak. I think there's a solid introduction for the whatever they're fucking called, the extinctors or whatever. I don't actually fully remember, like the robots from outer space. It does, I will say, as we get into it, really get into sort of the concept of like time dilation. They don't say it specifically, but there's a sort of implication that like the timeline split because a group of humans went off to the moon in the future and then accelerated. I thought Asimov wrote iRobot. No, iRobot, the short story, was written by some I also thought it was Asimov, for the record. I thought it was Asimov about 6 seconds ago, but it is apparently some fucker called Endo Binder, apparently. Oh no, there is a 1950s science fiction novel written by Isaac Asimov. I am interesting. So there were actually 2 stories called iRobot, actually. So it was probably written. It's probably the one written by Asimov then. Okay, yeah, it's probably the one written by Asimov. I just saw that there was a short story under the literature section on Wikipedia by Endo Binder, and I was like, I guess it wasn't Asimov. But it does use Asimov's 3 laws in the actual movie. So I've only seen the movie, I haven't read the stories. So I'm kind of going off of a Wikipedia article at this point. So on that, anyway. I think the concept of like the multiple timelines caused by time dilation by humans going to the future and then coming back in time, I think that's a very interesting concept. It was touched on a bit in Gunbuster, which has nothing to do with this, but it was touched a bit on Gunbuster. And I kind of like it when sci-fi series get into this more like heavy sci-fi elements. Because they mention like the humans are evolved for like 1 million years evolved past current humans, which is why there's just like an unstoppable robot army in this. And yeah, I think those elements are kind of cool. But like overall, I think Detonator Oregon is just kind of boring. And I will say that I think although the introduction to the main girl is good, I think the romance with her is not very well conceived. There's also like that random kiss with the other pilot girl who's driving the inferior human robots. And I swear to fucking Christ, when they use the fucking solar flare at the end to defeat the enemy robots, I don't remember this being introduced, right? I feel like this wasn't, I feel like they're like, fucking, Oregon has a fucking solar laser, like about 5 minutes before he uses the solar laser. Maybe it was mentioned when they were doing the schematics in episode 2, but I swear that came the fuck out of nowhere. And there's like this like tease with this other like girl, but like that doesn't really go anywhere either, right? So like the final one I'd have to say is I think the romance with like the main girl comes the fuck out of nowhere. They have plenty of scenes, but I never really felt any romantic tension outside of her initial introduction where the main character didn't even fucking talk to them. Shower thought I had a topic that hasn't mattered in like 40 goddamn minutes. Okay. No, I mean, fucking hit me with it. Worst case scenario, I cut it out of a video. I know exactly what game I'd recommend to be mean to you. Oh, okay. All right. All right. You know what? What is it? I'm not promising to play it, but I'm listening out of curiosity. We're not going to start talking about Oregon, so I have less to edit. Darkseid. I've heard of Darkseid. I'm going to have to edit this out of the VOD that gets placed on the anime channel, which is why we're completely pivoting. What the fuck is Darkseid? Oh, that looks like Giger artwork. Oh! I've heard of Darkseid! Psychological horror point-and-click adventure game developed and published by Cyberdreams in '92, exhibits a normal world and a dark world counterpart, just like Silent Hill, which is based on the artwork by Giger. I know about, if you're wondering why I know about Giger and why I can recognize his art style so quickly, it is because Mama Sack was a huge Giger fan. And so I was subjected to an unfortunate amount of Giger growing up. Huge fucking Giger fan. Like her favorite artist. So there you go. Anyway, Darkseid's one of those games that unless you have a guide, you're going to be failing constantly. Well, you know I would use a guide because you know that, I mean, that's one thing. You know I would use a guide after, like, fucking 3 hours into the game because we have a saying here on the channel, which is, by any means necessary. Which one day is going to bite me in the ass worse than having to purchase a video game console just to play a different console game is going to. But... any means necessary. Unlike most click adventure games, which gives the players time to score, many actions in Darkseed must occur within precise time limits or the game will end up in an unwinnable state. Oh, that's dicks. One must start over repeatedly to win without resorting to a walkthrough. Amiga format in its review stated with regards to Dark Place, too many things in the game need to be done within a specific time or in a certain order. You don't necessarily know when you've passed that critical point after which you've lost cause. As a result, you have to play the game several times over, going through scenes you've seen countless times before. It sounds actually bad. The player has 3 real-time hours, which they must complete the game. Oh shit, which means we could actually theoretically do this in one stream, which is the equivalent of 3 in-day games. Time is also passed by using an in-game wait function, and the time can be checked by looking at Dawson's watch. Honestly, for only 3 hours, this might be worth a stream. At the end of each day, Dawson goes to sleep upon bed. Each night has a nightmare of the dark world. Dawson automatically goes to sleep at 10 p.m. each night, regardless of where the player is. If it becomes night while Dawson is in the dark world, he'll fall asleep and die, resulting in a game over. Dawson is able to access the dark world on day 2 upon receiving a piece of mirror in the mail, resembling it with the rest of the mirror, creating a portal to the dark world. Every room, person, and object in the normal world has a dark world equivalent is often necessary for puzzle solving. When interacting with objects, the options the player include look, inquire, touch, manipulate, and move, denoted by a question mark, a hand, 4 arrows pointing inward, respectively. I can't read, I'm drunk. Looking at an object and manipulating an object in context-sensitive question mark becomes an exclamation point when the cursor is over the item of interest and the handprint aren't separated. The cursor is over the time. It's going to be bigger on a real blade. Honestly, this sounds like this would be good for a, a one stream kind of thing. What is this on? 2006 game trailer named Darkseed the 7th scariest game of all time, ranking it above Clock Tower, System Shock 2, and Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. I'm going to be straight up. This was 2006, but I will say in modern day, when you create a list of the scariest horror games ever created, Clock Tower, System Shock 2, and Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem don't even come up. Like, they're not even in the discussion anymore. That's how different of a time 2006 was, apparently. It's a DOS game? Oh, fuck that. Never mind. I think you just listed a more... You know, the more horrifying thing about that is that it's a DOS game than it's actually a horror game. Because that involves getting DOS working. Fuck that. For the record, you can, because every version of Windows is compatible with every other version of Windows except for a little bit of Vista just because of games of Windows Live. So you can actually get a DOS game running because the disk operating system still exists and is still used by your actual computer. So you can get a straight up DOS system running right on your computer right now, even without a DOS emulator. Excuse me. But just use a DOS emulator, because why would you want to deal with fucking OG Windows? I'd argue even by 2006 there were scarier games than those. It does seem like a little bit of a... Well, I mean, it was placed... I believe it was placed above those. Didn't it say that? I think it was supposed to be scarier than those. Yeah, it was ranked above Clock Tower, System Shock 2, and Eternal Darkness. What? Can I find this list? Let's find this list. We're only going to do top 10. Because this is number 7, we're only going to do top 10. This links to a fucking YouTube video. Oh, it links to the YouTube channel. Oh, we'll never find... How am we supposed to find this information? Scariest horror games. This was in 2015. How many years ago would that have been? We're looking for 7 years ago, so it's this one. We're just going to read what it says. You know what? We're allowed to do... Look, if XQC can react to people getting murdered, we can react to this bullshit. Alright, hold up. Hold up. We're at least as popular as XQC. Oh, I turned my webcam off. I'm drunk. Eat a dick. Alright, hold up. Hold up. We're going to react to this live. Let's go. Reacting to it live.
Games would we play again and again, not for guaranteed frights, but because they're still eerily satisfying years or even decades later. We honored what we felt were the 10 scariest games ever made several years ago, and interactive fear is a hard thing to definitively measure. For Halloween 2014, we decided to rank them by pure quality, of games that clearly belong in the horror genre, considering one entry per franchise. Which are the best? What games would we play again and again, not for guaranteed...
I don't think this is the list, but we're already watching this video.
Years or even decades later.
Fuck it. We're committed.
Several years ago, and interactive fear is a hard thing for genre, considering one entry per franchise. Which are the best? What games would we play again and again, not for guaranteed frights, but because they're still eerily satisfying years or even decades later?
10. PT. Games that truly belong in the horror genre. Shows a Dead Space sequel.
The world's first interactive teaser. PT transcended demo.
Can we count PT as a video game? Can we count the trailer of a game that never came out as a video game? Does that count? If I release the prologue of a book... Hold on, let me pause this. If I release the prologue of a book, and then that book never comes out, can that prologue of a book be considered the greatest book of all time? I feel like PT should be disqualified just because the game was never released. Like, it is technically a video game in that if you bind a fucking, teaser to a book, like the first chapter of a book, you've technically made a book, but I feel like it shouldn't count. I feel like it should be disqualified purely on the grounds that the game was never fully released.
Billed as the world's first interactive teaser, PT transcended demo status and surprised horror fans everywhere when it was revealed to be the precursor to Silent Hills. Originally conceived as a marketing event, on its own, the teaser succeeds in emphasizing ambiance and disturbing imagery in place of gore. Players explore...
That sounds very untrue and impossible.
Piecing together cryptic messages to reveal an insane, gruesome tragedy.
It's
hard to shake the eerie
that sounds like a sort of thing that would have been spread by Konami itself to sort of add to the mythos of the game.
Gouging the eye from a photograph, or the bloody refrigerator swimming above our heads. 2 words: sink fetus.
I do admit that PT is very creepy, though. I just don't think it should qualify because it's not a full game. It's just like a demo.
Developed by Visceral Games, Dead Space sets a high bar for...
So I've actually played Dead Space, and it is pretty scary for 2 hours, and then it just basically devolves into an action game. I would never in good conscience call it one of the scariest games of all time.
All of sci-fi horror. Isaac Clarke, an engineer, is sent to the USG Ishimura to investigate a distress signal. When aboard the ship, players are haunted by unknown whispers, spooky silence, and scenes of death that leave a constant residue of tension and despair. With sublime lighting and sound, it shuffles its grisly enemies around in a way that took us some time to get used to.
I've never actually played PT. I've only seen it played, which is why it might actually be more of a problem when playing. Because I know a lot of I've seen a lot of people be like, who were playing PT, be like, well, I've got to look this shit up because I can't fucking figure it out. So I imagine like there gets to a point with PT where yeah, frustration clearly overrides any sort of panic factor. I can imagine that being true, especially if you're playing. As someone who watched it, I didn't have that experience, but yeah, I can definitely see why. Because I know, like, at one point you have to, like, click on and off the menu. And, like, I would tell you this. If, like, a full-length game ever made me do that, I would fucking hate that game. Period. The one exception is, like, Bravely Default, which is, like, famous for doing that. But, like, Bravely Default, I think, is the only game series I would ever allow getting away with menu interaction like that. Like, if a horror game suddenly decided to make me fuck around with the menu, I'd be like, oh, eat a dick. Only from Kojima. Yeah. That's the thing. Kojima's too meta to make a horror game. I think, like, I think the key important thing about a horror game is you're supposed to be invested. I think Kojima gets too meta with his games. I don't think he could make an effective horror game across the entire runtime. I think PT worked because it was, like, 2 hours. I think if he had to stretch that game to, like, 12 hours, I don't think anyone would have been scared of it.
Using unconventional weaponry and hunting for weak points in odd locations. It all creates an unforgettable atmosphere that helps keep us up at night.
Yeah, those cutscenes are really long.
Am I going crazy? Will you be able to live with yourself knowing what I'm going
Fucking Evil Within? Are you kidding me?
Shinji Mikami's long-awaited return to horror was well worth
Who the fuck ever found Evil Within scary?
Some of the genre's best tropes, including gothic mansions, demented torture chambers, and psychological...
Actually, now that I realize this isn't... Okay, actually, hold up. Hold up. Retraction. These are top 10 horror games. So these are the best... They said at the beginning this wasn't the scariest. This is just the best horror games. So, retraction. This isn't about how scary the game is. The 10th best horror game of all time, according to IGN in 2016, was PT. The 9th best was Dead Space. And the 8th best is Evil Within. A game so famously poorly made that the fucking super best friends almost couldn't make it through it.
By having a limited ammo supply, never knowing reality from delusion, and suffering some truly disturbing...
This is game trailers. You were right. That's a solid correction. I wasn't actually reading because I'm too drunk to read. Get ready to that for get used to that excuse during dialogue trade. 7. Justine?
Like other games on this list also illustrate, horror is at its best.
You know what? Honestly, Amnesia's, I would argue, the scariest horror game I've ever played. It's like the only horror game that's ever terrified me throughout the entire runtime. Top 10... I'm not a super fan... I should pause this. I'm not a super fan of the gameplay of Amnesia, so I could very easily not giving it a top 1 spot, and I think that would be very deserved. But I think a top 10 placement just for fucking pure creep factor and icon of it is I think it's justified. I think, what is this, number 7? I think 7 is a totally reasonable place for Amnesia. Like, the problem is the gameplay of Amnesia is a fucking pain in the ass. If Amnesia had perfect gameplay, I could easily see a top 1 slot, but like, yeah, it can be a bit obnoxious, especially with, like, the sanity meter and stuff. I think 7 is a very fair placement. I think Evil Within, I think Dead Space, and I think... First off, I think PT should be disqualified, and I think Evil Within and Dead Space, like, in a top 50 list, I can see those two. Oh, I'm not saying hard. I'm saying annoying. Let me clarify. I don't think it's a hard game. I think it's an annoying game. I think the gameplay can be a bit obnoxious, especially if you have to, like, move wheels around and open doors and shit. And I think the sanity mechanic, because I realized you didn't have to pay attention to your sanity mechanic because it'll just arbitrarily drop whenever the fuck it feels like, just because the game decided fuck you at that exact moment. So yeah, I think there's a lot of gameplay elements for Amnesia that should keep it out of a top 5. To be fair, but I think but like, as someone who, I guess I haven't played Evil Within, but I've seen it played. That game is like a fucking buggy mess. There's some cool ideas, but I don't think fucking top 10 placement is a fair place for Evil Within. Not even in fucking 2016. And fucking Dead Space 1, because that means Dead Space 1 went over Dead Space 2. Not that I've played it, but I know most people prefer Dead Space 2. But like Dead Space 1, fucking top 10 horror games of all time, even if it's only one for franchise. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, champ. I don't know. Top 50, sure, but top 10, my dog, top 10. The only part that really annoyed me is Justine. Oh, those fucking doors in Justine, dog. No, you are completely right. Fuck those doors in Justine.
Grinding sound is coming from their head.
But yeah, I think top 10 for Amnesia is a solid place, but not top 5 is a good one.
It's the unique gameplay in Dark Descent that makes it still stand out in the genre, and our memories.
Alright, 6. System Shock?
Few games nail isolation and dread the way System Shock 2 did.
I have not played System Shock 2. I own it. This game's fucking iconic. This game is fucking... This is one of the most iconic horror games of all time. I can't I haven't even seen it played, so I don't want to comment on its status as number 6, but what I will say is, like, the game itself is so fucking iconic that a top 10 place is probably earned just based on that criteria. Thought Dead Space 1 was a good time, but 2 and 3 sucked. I haven't played 2 and 3. I have exclusively played 1, and I thought Dead Space 1 sucked. System Shock, I know's gameplay is really outdated. There's like a mod that fixes it, and then they made like an official release that also fixes it, but I haven't played that either. I know they're working on like a System Shock remake, which I'm really looking forward to, but I want to get into System Shock. I own both games. I have like 500 games on my Steam list, and I just have not played them all. So sadly, System Shock's been a little left to the wayside while I play other things.
Does. Hearing the infected monsters shout, "Silence the Discord," as they charge through the steel corridors of the Von Braun.
I will say, fucking the fucking speech from the main villain of this, that was fucking fantastic. Like, if you ever want to hear just a fantastic villain speech, look up "With My Talons I Shape Clay," because fucking yes, Shodan, I think. I'd know if I wasn't as drunk. Keep in mind, I've drank a lot of vodka by now.
Still makes us jump today. Even more discomforting is the Shodan, an all-powerful artificial
there you go.
intelligence. She knows precisely what you're going to do before you do it, and mocks your meager attempts.
If I click that right now, it's going to show up on screen, so hold up.
Scheme, leading to horrifying moments as she viciously pulls the strings.
Alright, top 5.
Ready for...
System Shock 1 was remade, now it's FPS, so maybe it's playable. Yeah, I know they made like a mod. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard the #1 issue with the System Shock games is the UI is fucking garbo. Like, I hear the games are good once you learn to deal with how fucking trash the UI is.
For death, Agent Thomas, it shall come.
What is this, Fear?
Again. Appearing near the launch of the Xbox
Condemned.
360, Condemned isn't for everyone. It's a first-person game with hardly any shooting, but as the...
That's the game where you're in prison and then all the villains are based off of execution methods, right? I've never heard anyone put Condemned in the top 10. That's an interesting choice.
Years have passed, it still maintains its edge by being a raw, unsettling experience. As a police investigator hunting an attention-starved serial killer, you spend a lot of time peering through dimly lit environments when you're not clubbing irate vagrants to death. Your inability to sense danger coming or stop it from a distance creates tension as you put together the clues in each environment. It paved the way for games like Dead Island and ended up being one of the creepiest games of its generation.
4. Okay, what do we got?
I don't want to kill anyone.
What the fuck is this?
Countless horror games led
Yes! Alright, the only argument I would have for fucking Crimson Butterfly being in the top 5 is it should be higher. It should be number 3. I think this is number 2. I think this is number 4. And justifying anything but number 3 for Crimson Butterfly. Because, okay, number 1 is Resident Evil. Number 2 is Silent Hill 2. That's easy. Crimson Butterfly should be number 3. The only issue I have with Crimson Butterfly being at 4 is it should be 3. Because Crimson Butterfly is fucking fantastic.
Out of danger, but these simple solutions don't exist in Fatal Frame. You have to reduce your vision by looking through the lens of a camera and lining up a shot to dissipate the spirits lunging after your life energy. The mechanic forces you to stare down terror before bringing it down, creating a specific kind of claustrophobia that has never been replicated. The whole series is haunting, but we're giving the nod to Fatal Frame 2. Uncovering the secrets of Minakami Village and the Crimson Sacrifice ritual felt more sinister than anything present in the other games. The horror genre usually employs an assortment of fantastical monsters or unsympathetic killers, but in Fatal Frame 2, you fight tormented ghosts, forever reliving the atrocities that trapped them in their ethereal state.
Alright, 3. What should have been Crimson Butterfly? What the fuck is this? Is this Eternal Darkness? This is Eternal Darkness. No, fuck that. Crimson Butterfly.
Create tension and set an eerie tone. Few harness psychological horror like Eternal Darkness. Its dark Lovecraftian tale spans history, and as its main protagonist reads from a book made of human flesh, it soon becomes apparent that the terrors it describes are not so far away. As each character...
Oh, here's a fun fact. There are books made like binded in human flesh. It's called Anthro Biblo something. I would have remembered if I was sober. I swear to fucking Christ. I swear I would have remembered if I was sober. Anyway, you can look it up. Anthrodermic books. They're called anthrodermic books. And there are books bound in human flesh, and you can look up a list because apparently it was so uncommon that Wikipedia just has a list of every book ever bound with human flesh. My mind went to Necronomicon from Evil Dead. Here, the ones that I find the funniest is, like, most books bound in said to be bound in human skin just simply weren't. They just were not. The funniest ones were, like, books on how to summon demons and books about demonology. It's like, they're bound in human skin, and it's like, nope, goat. It's fucking not human. Most of the books that were supposedly bound in human skin were just, like, made by doctors being dickheads. Like, 1800s doctors that bounded them, like, 100 years later, and just because they had cadavers on hand, which is interesting. But yeah, you can look up a total list of every confirmed human skin book. This is the list we have. One other thing I wanted to know is that you can make paper out of skin. It's called vellum. And I wanted to know if paper was ever made out of human skin so that you could have a book written on human skin, made out of human skin, and maybe you could take it one step further and write it in human blood, because you can definitely write in human blood, for the record. And as far as I know, no such human vellum exists that has been tested, because the main issue is that human skin is too thick to create proper vellum. It might be possible if you made it out of, like, unborn fetuses or newborn babies, but otherwise, yeah, you wouldn't be able to make vellum out of human skin, which is probably a good thing. Unless there's a book bound with written on baby skin, there is no book written on human skin. Although I have heard some serial killers have written in, like, their own blood or some shit like that. So there's definitely books written in blood. There's definitely books bound in skin. In fact, I believe there is a copy of the Quran written supposedly in the blood of Saddam Hussein, but apparently the timeline doesn't match up on that, so they assume he wrote it in the blood of someone who was not him, because otherwise this motherfucker would not have had enough blood to write the entire goddamn Quran. Again, Necronomicon and Evil Dead, a tape they listened to says the book is bound in human skin and inked in blood. Yeah, I mean, well, that's actually why I looked this up relatively recently, is because, like, there's so many, like, horror stories about, like, the book is bound in human skin and written in blood. Like, obviously that's possible, but, like, the question is, like, has it ever been done? And the answer is not very often. Occasionally, usually by a dickhead doctor in the 1800s, but, yeah. So that's fun. Anyway, fucking Crimson Butterfly over Evil Within. Fuck you. Although I don't... again, I've never played Evil Within. Or, not Evil Within. I've never played fucking Eternal Requiem. I've seen it played. The game looks solid. Maybe a top 10 placement's not terrible in 2016. But over Crimson Butterfly? Are we for real now? Over Crimson Butterfly? Crimson Butterfly is the third best horror game of all time, and you cannot convince me otherwise unless you present to me a horror game better than Crimson Butterfly that is not Silent Hill 2 or Resident Evil 1. You've played Eternal Darkness. Would you put it over Crimson Butterfly?
Character's sanity meter drops, you begin to lose track of what's real and what's hallucination. And some effects even target the player, masterfully breaking the form.
Fun fact. Nintendo owns a... Is it a patent or a copyright on game mechanics, like sanity-related game mechanics relating to breaking the fourth wall due to Eternal Darkness that they have done fuck all with? Like, they own... You see how it says an error has occurred? Reading the Nintendo GameCube controller, please insert the controller into the GameCube socket 1. They actually own, like, a patent or a copyright on that. Like, they own that. No one else can do that because of Nintendo. And they will sue you. It's up there with stuff like Parasite Eve, Rule of Rose, Haunting Ground, and the Desperately Teens Remastered Port Camp. Here's the thing. If Parasite Eve... Like, I wasn't a big fan of Parasite Eve or Rule of Rose, but if they, like, remade it with, like, modern goddamn controls and modern combat systems, they would probably go up in my mind as a way better game. It is not better than Fatal Frame 2. I would not... Yeah, okay. See, that's what I would have expected. I would have been shocked, because Crimson Butterfly is so fucking good, dude. Crimson Butterfly is definitely my third best horror game of all time.
Wall. The audio design is perhaps the most powerful as whispers and screams seep into your brain, and some tones are even crafted to make your pets go wild.
Number 2. Resident Evil 1. That's fair. I can't hate that. I can't hate that. Personally, I would... Because you know number 1 is Silent Hill 2, because we haven't gotten to Silent Hill and it's one per franchise, so you know it's Silent Hill 2. Personally, I'd put Remake over Silent Hill 2, but I can't hate the list at that point. That's fair. That's completely fair.
Thanks to stark lighting and realistic shadows. Zombies lurk around unsuspecting corners and come back to life as terrifying Crimson Heads, unless dealt with properly. The sense of fear is heightened as fear... If
your top 5 contains Crimson Butterfly, Silent Hill 2, and Remake, I can't really hate you that hard.
Rarely seen in future installments of the franchise.
It's stuck in the fucking GameCube and it's pricey as shit. Number 1, yeah, I told you. The second you see Remake at 2, you know Silent Hill's 1.
The master of atmosphere, anguish, and dread.
I can't hate that. I would put Remake over Silent Hill 2, but I can't hate the placement.
Things are scariest when they actually mean something. Everything in the game is there for a reason. The town is a shattered memory, the enemies are twisted, repressed elements of James's guilt-ridden mind, and the people you meet are fractured extensions or maybe examples of James's own unfortunate journey through life. Silent Hill 2 is horror at its best. When you finish the game, you feel like you've changed along with the character. No matter which ending you receive, you're left feeling disjointed and hollow.
It's also got the best ending decision of any game, because the ending of the game is decided based on, like, how you played the game, whether you, like, let yourself almost die constantly and you healed a bunch, or whether you, like, constantly looked at the, like, dangerous weapons and examined them, or, like, the photos of your family and shit like that. Excuse me. It's such a, like, unique way to determine the ending that I think, like, to this day, I think a lot of games could learn from Silent Hill 2. In fact, I would say more games can learn from Silent Hill 2 than can learn from Resident Evil, like, could learn from Remake. And specifically because that, I could see a genuine argument for Silent Hill 2 over Remake. I would, if you were to offer me, would I rather play Remake or would I rather play Silent Hill 2? I'd choose Remake, but I think I could never, as long as your top 2 are probably those 2 games, I can't hate on that. I genuinely can't. I think those are solid choices for top 5. Fun fact, Silent Hill artist Masahiro Ito said, "I wish I never designed that damn pyramid. It's because Silent Hill fans harass him with their crackpot theories." I mean, in the context of Silent Hill 2, Pyramid Head is good. I like Pyramid Head in this context of Silent Hill 2. Where my disfavor with Pyramid Head lies is outside of Silent Hill 2. I don't think he should be in a Silent Hill outside of 2. I don't think there's any justification for him outside of 2. But yeah, for the record, Silent Hill 2 is often considered to be inspired by Jacob's Ladder and Solaris, 2 movies I have watched exclusively because they were said to inspire Silent Hill 2. I will say Jacob's Ladder was a good movie. Solaris was boring as sin. Like, fuck, I could barely make it through that 3-hour slog. I do not know why people suck that movie's dick so hard. It is so fucking boring. Holy shit. There was this glorious Twitter action where someone said something to him about the holes James jumps into represent Mary's vagina, and he just said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Well, a major issue about James is that he wasn't jumping into Mary's vagina, right? Wasn't that the whole nurse concept? What the fuck were they talking about? I always thought the whole metaphor was way more on the nose. I always thought it was like an assumption of like journeying into hell, just like going to the basement in Silent Hill 1. Silent Hill is not as subtle as people pretend it is. It's a very on-your-nose video game franchise, and I don't hate that, honestly. I do not hate that. I'm getting more drunk as this is going on because I am starting to drain this. Anyway, there we go. That was Game Trailer's top 10 horror games, but they made the list in 2016. I've seen worse horror game lists. You misunderstand how it's saying Silent Hill. Considering I have said many times that I choose to stay out of fandoms, yes, I am severely underestimating the insanity of Silent Hill fans. You are correct. Well, I've also, the thing I will say that I disagree most heartedly with Silent Hill fans is the claim that the bad combat in Silent Hill is intentional because the characters aren't supposed to know how to fight. No, they're just bad at making combat. If they could make good combat, they would have made good combat. They're just bad at it. Are you really saying they made their gameplay suck on purpose? They did it. Are you fucking dumb? Have you heard of the circumcision guy? I have not. Nitro Rad's comments on Silent Hill combat is high. No, I want you to be clear. I heard Nitro Rad say that, and it didn't even faze me because Nitro Rad wasn't the first person I've ever heard say that. And even when he uploaded the video, there were videos I had heard where people said the exact same thing before him. I don't even think I don't think he came up with the idea of the gameplay being bad on purpose by himself. I think he heard someone say that and then was like, I guess that makes sense. And then I think he said that because of that. Because I think that has been around for years before Nitro Rad ever said that. In fact, I know it's been around years before Nitro Rad said that. And I bet it's been years around... I bet it's been around even years before the people who I first heard it said it. Like, I guarantee you that's almost as old as the games itself, where people are just trying to justify the game, this is terrible combat, by being like, no, they did it on purpose, you don't get it, you're too dumb. But, like, no, they didn't do it on purpose. It's just bad combat. It's okay. You can say the game's fantastic, and that its psychological horror elements are fucking brilliant, because they are, for the record, and still be like, but the combat's a little ass. Like, you can acknowledge the combat's ass and still suck the game's dick. Alright? You can suck a dick and be like, but I will say one of your balls is a little bigger than the other ball. Alright? Alright? I'm gonna be real with you. You might have lopsided balls, but this is still some pretty good dick. And then Silent Hill be like, that's okay, baby, whatever, as long as you're on there. And you'll be like, baby, I'll be on your dick all day, Silent Hill. What the fuck? I'm so fucking drunk. I'm so drunk I can barely read what you're writing right now. He'll praise Silent Hill's janky-ass combat and then criticizes the Rule of Rose janky-ass combat, which is based on Silent Hill's janky-ass combat. The problem with Rule of Rose's combat is they throw a million monsters at you. The combat system designed to fight at most 3 monsters at once. Here is what I will say. In my defense, I criticized both games' combat systems. In my defense, I wasn't a fan of either. Anyway. What were we talking about? Fucking Detonator Organ? Fuck yeah. I actually think I said everything about Detonator Organ. Their combat is largely the same. Yeah. I think of the Silent Hill games, the game they're in, like, of the horror games that we have played, outside of, like, late game Resident Evils, right? Like, outside of Resident Evil, I think the horror game combat we gave the most credit. Okay, let's rewind. Out of Silent Hill and Rule of Rose, we're just talking about those two right now, those two franchises. I think the game I gave the most credit to for its combat system is Silent Hill 1, and the reason I gave the credit to Silent Hill 1 for its combat system is because the combat in that game is so fucking piss-ass easy that it's barely worth mentioning. It, like, went, like, the Deadly Premonition route, where it's like, if you have to fucking do this, just get it the fuck over with. Like, that's what Silent Hill 1 felt like to me. Like, Silent Hill 1 felt bored with its own combat, and so it just made everything insanely murderable. And that's why I will praise Silent Hill's 1 combat the most, because it's the one that felt like it wanted you to do it the least. It was just like, whatever, just kill everything. I don't fucking care. If that's how you're playing the game, whatever, just go on and fucking murder spree. But yeah, Silent Hill 2, and I would say 3, and probably 4, and Rule of Rose leaned a lot more into... Well, not Rule of Rose. Actually, I think Rule of Rose is probably the worst of the combat. Specifically because a major element of survival horror is conserving resources and learning when to run away from enemies, which is something that fucking Resident Evil, like specifically Remake, did so fantastically. Is you shouldn't kill every enemy, because the idea of something turning into a Crimson Head is very dissuasive. Like, you do not want an enemy to fucking Crimson Head on you. And I think that's a brilliant system for, like, learning to, like, because it almost turns into a game of resource management, which is the concept of a survival horror, is resource management of, like, is it worth it to kill this enemy to get it out of this hallway, knowing I will have to spend the resources required to deal with a fucking Crimson Head to take it down? Or is it worth it to create a temporary passage in this hallway, knowing that I will generate a Crimson Head, hoping that I won't have to go through this hallway again? And that's why I think Resident Evil 1, of all of the survival horror games with that combat style, has the best, like, Remake has the best fucking style, just because it adds this sort of management element to it that, like, the others don't quite get to. But at least how I played Rule of Rose, I ran away from nearly every encounter unless I absolutely needed to, collecting knives to get the sword. Well, what I was going to say is, like, the issue with, like, Rule of Rose is a lot of times, like, the reason I would put it at the bottom, like, I think it's the worst of all of the combat, is more than any of the other games, Rule of Rose will lock you into a room and be like, alright, kill everything. And I'm like, can I fucking not? The combat is ass. And the game's like, nope, kill everything. And, like Silent Hill almost never does that. Resident Evil almost never does that. Like, those, like, if we're comparing those 3 game systems, like, Rule of the Rose is the one that'll lock you in a hallway and make you just murder everything the most often, and that's why I would put it at the bottom. Like, realistically, functionally, it is a very similar combat system to, like, Silent Hill or something. In fact, if you're using a low damage but long reach pipe, what's her name? Jennifer or something? What's the main character of that game's name? I'm very drunk. I'm so drunk. You don't understand how much alcohol I've consumed right now. I'm not allowed to drive. But, like, Jennifer's, like, pipe manages to do a good amount to, like, a decent area. Like, it's frustrating. Jennifer, yeah, thank you. Like, it's frustrating, but, like, the reason I would put Rule of Rose at the bottom is because it forces you to engage with the mechanic the most. And I think that's the biggest issue, is forcing you to engage with the mechanic. Like, Silent Hill very rarely cares. Resident Evil basically never cares. Resident Evil encourages you to run away if you fucking can, and turns it into a game, which is why I think Remake is the best. Like, the resource management aspect of Remake is why it is my favorite horror game of all time, and I cannot imagine it getting past. It is fucking unbelievable in that aspect. It is so fucking good, but... yeah, I think, I will be honest, I played the game enough that I can actually get some good use out of short-range, high-damage knives. That is impressive, I will say that. I gave up on them very quickly. I realized that like high-damage weapons weren't worth it when you had to trade off rage. But if you manage to get the timing down, I'm sure they could be useful. But yeah, if you were to say like horror game that gets like a remake that could actually be playable, I would say a full remake, not a remaster, not a port, a full ground-up remake, dragging its ass to the modern day remake of Rule of Rose could be very solid. I doubt it would be my favorite horror game of all time, but if you give it like a Resident Evil 2 treatment, I bet you could make a pretty solid game out of Rule of Rose. Because I don't think the story's terrible. I think the story could use some reordering. I think it could use some structure. I think the gameplay needs a fucking overhaul. Like a massive one. Like cut it out, fix all of it. But I think Rule of Rose is fixable. I don't think Rule of Rose is so broken you couldn't fix the game. Icepick is pretty good at the Goat Sisters chapter. I imagine it's probably enemy dependent, right? Probably. The problem is that the company that made Rule of Rose doesn't exist anymore. Oh, it'll never happen. But I'm saying I think like there are some games you play where you're like, there's no fixing this. There's no pulling this out of the fucking gutter. But Rule of Rose, I think, like, if you give it a modern day, like, remake, better graphics, fix the gameplay, reorganize the story a little bit, maybe be a little more on the nose with some of the symbolism, perhaps. Subtlety causes a lot of elements of the game to fade into obscurity. I think you could make a pretty good horror game. I don't think it would be the best horror game of all time. As far as I'm concerned. But I think it would be a very solid choice. I think it is a very fixable game. I know one guy who worked on Rule of Rose at some company called Onion Games. He flirted with the idea of a remaster, but not a remake. I don't think a remaster would... Because the thing is, like, if you upscale it, like, it's an okay-looking game, but I don't think Rule of Rose's, like, main issue is that it looks bad. Which is what a remaster fixes. Like, a remaster basically fixes, like, appearances and minor controller scheme issues, and I do not think those aren't my main faults with Rule of Rose. I would, if I could give a full remake to a game, it would not be Rule of Rose. But if I could give a full remake to like, an infinite number of games, I would totally give like, if I was given, like, here, you can remake any game you want, that's just a superpower you have, you can just give it a full remake, with as much budget as required to get it running, I would totally do it to Rule of Rose. Because I think Rule of Rose could be really functional with a remake. It looks pretty good, honestly. It upscales really well. The cutscenes were done by Shirogami. Of course, the FMVs are stunning. Yeah, no, honestly, like the look of the game was... Honestly, I remember upscaling it to 4K when we streamed, and it was pretty fucking fire, honestly. Like, it upscales pretty well, too, is the thing. So, like, a remaster's solid, but, like, no, if I had the ability to be like, here, you get an appropriately budgeted remake, Rule of Rose would totally get a remake from me, for sure. For sure it deserves one. I think you could totally bring that up to modern standards and make a very good horror game. And we're assuming by remake, in this context of my imaginary superpower, where I can cause something to get a remake, we're assuming the remake keeps the heart. Like, it'll change some elements, but it'll keep the heart and soul of the original. I think the heart and soul of Rule of Rose is totally valid, and I would totally remake that shit if I could. I watched Haunting Ground playthrough, and they used an HD overhaul mod, and it looked absolute garbage. The PS2 480i looked way better. Did it? Fucking yeah. Rule of Rose should totally. What other game would I give a Magic remake to if I had the ability to? It would have to be a game, because we're talking full remake. We're talking ground up, right? So this can't just be like, I wish it had a better port. Like Darkness, because I'm looking at my game list, and like Darkness totally could use a port. but I don't think it needs a remake. I think the game is serviceable. It's like, we gotta be like, no, we gotta fucking fix... We gotta fix the fact that it's old. Like, that's what a remake is to me. A remake needs to fix the fact that the game is old. Innocent Sin. Innocent Sin could use a remake, actually. I would love if Innocent Sin fixed the fact that it was old. Can we get an Innocent Sin remake, please? Oh, shit. What other game needs to get fixed that it's old? Sweet Home. I'll take your word on that. I know Sweet Home inspired Resident Evil. I know it's like its status, but I haven't personally played it. So I will take your word that Sweet Home could use a remake. You know what doesn't help is while I'm looking at games that need a remake, I'm looking at 360 games. And the fact is that most 360 games are new enough that fixing that it's old doesn't qualify. Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve is a solid remake. More than Final Fantasy VII. Oh, I would remake Final Fantasy VII. Like a real remake. Not like because remember, the criteria of this imaginary superpower is that we fix it in such a way that it maintains its heart and soul. And Nomura is not doing that. The Final Fantasy VII remake is not keeping Final Fantasy VII Final Fantasy VII. So I would definitely Final Fantasy VII. I would definitely agree with, what the fuck did you say? Parasite Eve could definitely use a remake with like a modern system. I would love Parasite Eve. Sweet Home is the problem in exploration. I think Final Fantasy IX is functional. I think Final Fantasy X is functional. I would love a sort of Final Fantasy X-2 remake. Final Fantasy X-2 could warrant a remake. And I would almost like a Final Fantasy XII remake because its combat system is fucking garbo. I would love if it was just like a modern turn-based kind of thing. Because that fucking garbo combo system is fucking garbo. A lot of Final Fantasy games I think could totally get like modern day remakes probably, because Final Fantasy is very experimental, which means that they have stumbled upon a lot of terrible combat systems just on pure accident, just because they're like, what if we do this? And the answer is like, please don't. I'm drunk. I'm so very drunk. I think we should move on from Detonator Organ. I've actually said everything I needed to. If I recall, I said everything about the girl and the romance being forced and the robots and how boring the episodes are and it's not super interesting and all of that shit. So there you go. So I think that's Detonator Organ. For the people who are watching on the anime channel and you're like, what the fuck happened to Sack between cut 1 and cut 2? The answer is about fucking 40 minutes of conversation about horror games, and I drank the rest of the alcohol. You remember at the beginning I said there was no alcohol, and then I drank all of it. I drank all the fucking alcohol between that time period. That is what happened. If you're watching the VOD, that is what happened. Like the fucking thing on Shouting Through the Chorus, and you're like, what the fuck happened between those two cuts? That's what fucking happened. Please keep in mind that as the person who edits this, because I don't hire my own editor. I could, but it seems like a waste of money. I'm gonna watch this back and be like, what the fuck, dude? I fucking drank so much booze. There is hope for Parasite Eve to get something at the very least. You might ask why Sack, you might be asking yourself at home, Sack, you can read over 1,000 words per minute. This is true. I'm not even exaggerating. I can legitimately read over 1,000 words per minute when I'm sober. You might be asking, Sack, why are you reading this out loud? It's because if I don't, my attention span is going to flicker out so fucking hard that I won't be able to read it at all. As evidenced by the fact that I'm choosing to specify why I am reading this out loud rather than actually reading this out loud. Haha. I'm so drunk right now. There is hope for Parasite Eve to get something at the very least. Square lost the ability to use the name Parasite Eve after they made 2 because the author of the novel hated it. That's why the third game is called Third Birthday. But on some shitty Final Fantasy mobile game, they had Aya Brea as a guest character and they used the title Parasite Eve. Also, Mitochondria Eve, which they couldn't use because they were a character in the novel. Checkmate, Square. Alright, who's ready to see what the next dartboard game is? Boop, 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 boop. We're done with Detonator Organ. Hope you liked it. I think I gave it a 5. I think it was... no, it might have been... I think it was a 4. I legitimately think it was a 4 because I legitimately think it bored the fuck out of me. Alright, here we go. Fucking... Dix McKenzie. Fucking... Here we go. Here we go. I actually missed the click because I'm that drunk. Hell yeah! Treat the best fresh Febreze car. I normally exit out of these ads, but there wasn't actually an option. We're gonna shuffle. We're gonna shuffle. Hold up. What are we about to do? What are we about to do? It's the third shuffle. What do we got? What do we got? What's the third one? What's the third one? Blade of the Immortal? Isn't that the Rumiko Takahashi story where the dude eats the mermaid? I didn't even realize that was an option. Yeah. What did I mean? What did I mean when I clicked that? There's 2 versions of Blade of the Immortal. There's the 2019 version. And there's the 2008 version. Oh, I'm thinking of Mermaid Saga, is what you said in the comments. I had to have meant the 2008 version. There is 0 chance I meant the 2019 version. I definitely meant the 2019. I meant this one. I definitely meant this. Fuck. Y'all, this alcohol's starting to really hit. Like, fucking, I can barely stand. Fucking shit. I don't think I'm gonna puke. I don't think it was that much. But I'm running out of steam. I think we're gonna have to end real soon. This is Mugen no Juin, Blade of the Immortal, because in Japanese the I makes an N sound, an E sound, so it's for sure Juin. For the record, it's Mugen no Juin, Blade of the Immortal. Average score 6.8, made by B-Train, which is relatively famous. But, like, they're not, like, one of those top-tier ones. Like, they're not the ones that you little kids stroke your fucking dicks to, like Mappa. But, like, they've been around. They've made us a few shit, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they've been around before. Yeah, they've made some shit. Yeah, they've been around a little bit. Fuck, dude, the alcohol is really hitting. Like, it is really hitting. Like, oh, fuck. Like, I don't feel good. Like, I know I just drank more, but fuck, it is starting. It is. I mean, I'm gonna need to sit down. I haven't vomited, so we're not violating TOS yet. But we need to end the stream soon. Manji is an infamous swordsman in feudal Japan who is known as the 100-Man Killer. as he has killed 100 innocent men. However, there is something more frightening than his ominous reputation and the fact he is immortal. This is the handiwork of 800-year-old nun Yaobikuni, who placed blood wounds capable of healing almost any wound in Manji's body. To atone for his crimes, Manji resolves to kill 1,000 evil men. Yaobikuni agrees to his proposal, saying that if he succeeds, she will undo his curse of immortality. Soon after this promise, Manji meets Rin Asano, a 16-year-old girl who, they're always 16, even in the fucking goddamn, even in the fucking Sengoku Basara, they've got to be goddamn 16 for some reason. Requests Manji's assistance in killing, I don't care nearly as much as that sounded like it did, in killing those who slaughtered her parents. Initially reluctant, Manji refuses Rin's desperate plea. However, owing to lack of strength, Manji changes his mind and agrees to protect Rin for just 4 years, just a Yonshi number of years. With his partnership set in stone, the two embark on a perilous journey of bloodshed, vengeance, and redemption, each to fulfill their own life's cause. This has 13 episodes. This is an average score of 6.82. Came out in the summer of 2008. Its genres are action, adventure, drama, supernatural. Its themes are gore, historical, martial arts, and samurai. Its demographic is seinen and is 24 minutes per episode, meaning it is just barely qualified for what is required for an anime dartboard anime. I am like the highest level of drunk you can be before you're like too drunk. That is the level I am at. I am like fuel drunk. So I expect everyone to watch this in 2 months' time. Report back in January. We will talk about Blade of the Immortal, specifically the 2008 version, not the 2019 version. Look forward to that. Look forward to that, is what I will tell you. Get that done. You'll love it. As for why I watched this, I don't remember. I think I got it confused with Mermaid Saga. I don't know why this is how. I guess I stumbled upon this. Sober Sack would remember, but Drunk Sack doesn't remember why Blade of the Immortal was so appealing that I put it at both the 2008 version and the 2019 version. I legitimately think the only logical explanation for why I have this on here is I have gotten it confused with Mermaid Saga. I legitimately think that's the only reason. But it doesn't matter because it won the dart. I'll place it in Discord. Check it out. Blade of the Immortal, 2008, English dubbed. Fucking get your dick wet with it. And that brings us to the outro. We talked about a lot of fun things. We talked about personal stuff. We talked about how fucking shit-faced drunk I got right at the end of the game. We talked about horror games. Boy, did we talk about horror games. Almost fucking 2.5 hours of horror game talk. It was a good time. It was a fun time. I will see you when the next stream. Should be Friday. We should be fighting young Xehanort. We might be giving it a real go. We might be beating Xehanort. We're going to get a lot of Thunder Surge. We're going to fucking shove our dick into Xehanort's ass instead of vice versa, which is what has been happening. And then the next stream game is going to be Digimon Next World Order. Look forward to that. Mac Tier video game request, which we've luckily gotten done with. And then once we are finally done with that, which normally I try and do every side quest and talk to every character and have fun with it, we're just rushing through that one as fast as fucking possible because we have played enough to know that I hate it already. And that'll bring us to some Kingdom Hearts game. I don't fucking remember which one. I look forward to that, I guess. And then hopefully we can get all through that in November. Wouldn't that be crazy if we can do a game in a single month? That would be fucking bonkers. I would love that. And then what do we got going on? Did I say watch Blade of the Immortal? Watch Blade of the Immortal. Watch this anime right here. Watch it. It's not on screen. I turned it off the screen. Watch Blade of the Immortal 2008. And yeah, Friday, Kingdom Hearts. I said that. I said that. Look forward to that. Look forward to that shit. That'll be a good time. And look forward to at least a solid month or two of shouting through the course uploads because I've pre-uploaded them. Because if you didn't know I do that, I do that. And then I will place Blade of the Immortal in the Discord. And I think that's good. I think we're Gucci. Hopefully you had fun. I will see you next Friday. The alcohol's hit so hard. And I have been Psychobolic, your envoy of hope. And this has been Dialogue Tree. Episode 2. Season 1. Core 1. Normally I have this set up so that when I hit bye-bye the thing bounces, but I don't think it actually will, because I don't think I have an emote wall up, do I? Doesn't matter, dog. Thanks for stopping by if you had fun. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.